Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another edition of the Fan Show. I tell you what, I really enjoyed recording the last edition of the Fan Show with Craig Dearman, and in this edition we've got a very, very special guest, James Black, the voice of Spurs. James, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, apart from the results and stuff, overall I'm decent. Yeah, how are you? Are you good?
I'm good, thank you. Yes, before we get into it, just to tell everyone, all of the listeners and viewers, we are live on YouTube, live on X, Facebook and Twitch. Please do get involved. We've got a lot of Spurs fans coming on today, giving their thoughts on the season so far, on Ange Postecoglou, the transfer window, and they are very welcome to come on here and talk about anything they wish. James, how is life for you personally at the moment? Because you are absolutely everywhere. You must be enjoying it.
Oh yeah, I mean, I just put a post up just now. It's a dream. I'm struggling to find the words for it. Really, I'm about to go to America with the tour. So I'm going to Austin and Dallas and Phoenix and Denver. Dallas is going to be my birthday. That I travelled there for the North London Derby. I'll be in Dallas on my birthday. So they've ruined quite a few of my birthdays, Tottenham. So I'm hoping they owe me one. You know what I mean? So yeah, hoping that goes well. But as always, it's all down to the club and the results. Might overlook what I'm doing really. But yeah, the talk I'm about from supporters groups just getting in touch with me. So it wasn't from Tottenham themselves. It was from just people around the world contacting me, and that feels quite nice, and inviting me over to their states and places around Europe. And yeah, I'm very humbled by it. It amazes me still.
James, how has life changed for you? Because, you know, singing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, of course, the Ange song went absolutely mental. It went viral. It went all around the world. How has life changed for you? How has it been?
Yeah, it's amazing. Like, it's again, it's very hard to describe, but well, to me, Tottenham fans are the coolest in the world, and just to be taken in by them, and even just walking around the stadium on match day and talking to everyone, I really enjoy it, and I prefer that even over the performance. Really, like just getting to know people and just getting to talk to people on match days and going around. And yeah, it's hard to describe. It's like it's not real, really, because that's all I've ever wanted. Like, I'm Tottenham over everything. Like nothing comes even close to it, really. Like music don't even come close. So it doesn't feel real, and I'm very humbled by the fact that I've been given this chance to show what I can do. And I just see myself as a Tottenham fan with a guitar. So I guess that's what transcribes to the fans.
It must feel great for you, because the most busiest part of the stadium is where you are singing.
Yeah,
that's a fact.
Oh, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like I've spent my life in rock bands and bands before doing this, and we was doing some big tours. Like we'd tour with Kasabian, we'd tour with Prodigy, and get to know all these. I mean, I had a life like that. That was my life up until Tottenham. But this is a million times better because it's Tottenham, and hearing the Tottenham fans just singing my name when I'm on stage is like, it just blows my mind. It's just amazing. I'm sure you understand how it would feel being a huge Tottenham fan yourself, like how it would feel, and you're recognised everywhere. When you come to the gigs, you get packed when I'm on when I'm on stage. You know how it feels. It's like you're very humbled by it, aren't you? You're very grateful, and just people just taking their time out to say hello, and just Tottenham fans to me are the best in the world. So yeah, it doesn't feel real. I feel how you would think I would feel. Any Tottenham fan would think I would feel. It feels crazy.
Yeah. I've got to admit, James, every single time I've seen you with the Spurs fans, you always engage, which is great to see. Before we get our first guest on, and as I say, I'm really looking forward to talking to a lot of fans this evening, getting their feelings and thoughts on the season so far. What are your thoughts on the season so far? Because we are in January. Of course, the January window now is in full flow. We've got one signing over the line so far. Of course, we'll be talking about that heavily during the show. But we are 12th in the Premier League table. We are closer to the relegation zone than we are top four. We probably all feel like, that is not the place where we need to be. we need to be a lot higher than that. What have you made of the season so far?
It's a tough one. I mean, the question of Ange in, Ange out is a tough one, because the sort of results we're getting and some of the performances we're getting are so incredible, and you just get that feeling that when it all clicks, it's amazing. And he's had injuries, and obviously that's depleted what he can do. And you take, I think before Newcastle, there was like 11 to 13 players out, and I've never known that in the many years I've ever supported football. I've never known anything like that. So any football team, sorry, I meant. So for me, it's tough. I mean, he's also got to be to blame for some of the in-game managements that are not adapting his style to the depleted squad. I'll put that on Ange's table, to be honest with you. So there's a few things that I do blame him for, not and being a bit too stubborn with everything. But on the flip side, I think that stubbornness with the right players might see us through to some really amazing times if we can stick with him. But I guess he's sort of showing to the board that I need these players. Like, I need players to do this. And if we're going to compete now on all fronts, I'm showing you we've not got enough. And that is true, isn't it? Like, I know it's been unheard of, the amount of injuries we've had. Never seen a team have that before.
Yeah.
But, I think we need to really strengthen. And I was thinking about it today, weirdly, and I think we need to look at probably even 3 to 4 first teamers to be in there. That sort of style. Do you know what I mean? That not just like squad members and making up numbers, because it's Europa League this year, but hopefully, if we win that, it's Champions League next year, and challenging on for all the trophies and getting back into where we deserve to be is going to take quite a lot added to our squad. So I'm different. I'm very annoyed at the league, because this is the lowest I've known us for many years, and to be just in January and calling off the league already is just annoying. But if we can go for them cups, it will save the season for me.
James, you're looking forward to this. We're going to bring a lot of Spurs fans on today, and I think it's going to be nice, because lots of people have very different opinions, as we see online, as we see in talking to people in the pub, etc. Everyone's got different opinions, and everyone is very welcome on here to express those opinions. First of all, we're going to go to Noah. Noah, great to have you here. How are you? I think you're on mute.
You're on mute. Noah sound.
Noah, are you with us?
Can you hear us, Noah?
Noah, I'll tell you what, you sort your sound out. We'll come back to you shortly. We will go to... Who have we got here? Let's go to Melvin. Your brother. I tell you, the lookalikes.
Right in the screen, in the middle of the screen.
You're not seeing
Melvin,
double at the moment.
Melvin from Malta. Melvin, how are you?
Yeah, I'm doing well, Chris. How are you? Hey, James.
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Let's start with your thoughts on the Newcastle game, Melvin. Of course, a disappointing defeat at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, a hard one to take because of the referee's decision. Ange Postecoglou obviously wasn't happy. But how are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? Because as I just said to James, sitting in 12th in the Premier League table, we're not used to this, are we?
No. I mean, yeah, I'm disappointed with the Newcastle game. I even fear for Postecoglou at the moment, because I just think with the fixtures coming up, we're still in the cup, and I think it could go south real quick. I don't think the problems have gone away. I still think there are some problems that will remain until we get adequate cover. The defense is still a gaping hole. I mean, the way we play, we play on the knife's edge all the time, and when we have our best players and when they're fit and firing, it's like we can live comfortably on that edge. But once our big heavy hitters are gone, it's like it's easily that teams can exploit our weaknesses. And this type of football, it's like if you're not on it and you're not 100% every single day, we're gonna get found out. And sadly, because of I keep blaming the injuries. I think with Van de Ven and Romero, we're a different team. We're 10 yards higher up the pitch, and we're attacking more. When we win the ball higher up the pitch, we'll score more goals. I just think it's a tricky season, the second season. I didn't think it'd be this bad. I thought we would be something like this. I thought I said to you, Chris, it'd be Ange ball to 1.2 at the moment, not 2.0. I thought in January, in February, it would quick and it will click. But with the injuries, we're now, hanging on to recruitment. We think recruitment is going to solve the problem. People say back Ange. I think you back him with time, not with money. I think you back him with time. A manager like Ange Postecoglou, he reminds me a lot of Sir Alex Ferguson, how he speaks, how he's disciplined, how players fear him but also fight for him, how he wants players to show their character on the pitch, how he wants, teams to win. It reminds me of Sir Alex Ferguson, and I think what he's doing or trying to do at the club, I think it's quite similar to that type of team. Man United, how they in the 90s, in the early 2000s, how they build their teams, how they had a core of youth which they build around, and then they added strength when they were in a position to add strength. I don't think we're slowly getting there. I think now, with the clear out we had in the summer, with even in January now, I think we're the third January in a row where we're going to invest heavily in January. I mean,
with that, Melvin, what would be a good January for you? What would you like to see in this transfer window? What would be like the minimum requirements you'd like to see?
I'm not going to say I have a minimum requirement. I just don't want the club to panic and buy the wrong player. I don't want the wrong player to come at the club.
What type of player?
Understand. It's not type of player. I trust Ange's judgment on a player. I think he wants to buy someone for the right reasons. If the club wants to buy, let's say, for example, the goalkeeper, from what we're hearing of the goalkeeper and what I've seen, I like his attitude. I've heard journalists talk about his winning determination that he has. He wants to win. He doesn't want just to come to the club and become second choice. He wants to be first choice. He's going to fight Vicario for the spot. I don't want players that in the past maybe came to the club just because we had a European place. I want, like Vicario said when he signed for us, he said, I would have signed in blood. I would have walked from Italy. I want that type of player. I don't want to be stuck paying high wages for a player that's not going to be influential in our system. Even though we've been hearing of loans with options to buy, and you hear things online until they sign and they hold the shirt. I really don't like to talk about which players I want or who, but it's like I want players that want to play for our football club.
At this stage, though, Melvin, it is all about the depth, isn't it? And as James said earlier, it's about the players to come in now and make an impact. Where Ange can trust them to come in straight away. And I know a lot of us spoke about the depth and the experienced players perhaps coming in the summer transfer window. We didn't really see that. I can see the vision for the future, and I'm a big believer in getting players in for the future. That's great, but at the same time, you need to get players in for the now.
Yeah, you see that in Solanke. I mean, look at Solanke, a proven Premier League player. We spent the money. 60 million was a good chunk of change. I mean, when you pay the money, sometimes you get the player. Sometimes you need to pay, even if you have to pay a little bit extra. I think Fabio Paratici has a famous quote. Sometimes he says something along the lines of, even sometimes you overpay, but at least you get your target in. Sometimes with Tottenham especially, and Daniel Levy and the ownership, sometimes they don't pay the extra 5 million that's necessary to bring your main target in. I mean, we saw it happen with Pedro Porro. I mean, the club had all of January to negotiate for Pedro Porro. Then the last second, the deal nearly collapsed. And we found ourselves, we had to overpay, but we brought him in. At times, the club does overpay. Often, sadly, it's for the wrong player. Today I was thinking on the way here, what am I going to talk about? I mean, we have 5 players at the club with probably Jet Spence, Bergvall, Archie Gray, and if you combine all these 5 players, they still don't make up the wages we spent on Tenga and Ndombele. So
do you think
there's lots of
Solanke with Solanke? Do you think that was too much? 60 million for Solanke? Do you think?
No. So I don't look at the price tag, James. I don't care how much the club pays. They can pay 100 for Solanke. At least we have them in. The guy's putting up numbers. I don't care about the price tag.
It's also the work rate. His pressing is quite incredible. Really.
Yeah, but James, if he was, let's say, if he was 150 million, and I don't care, it's the club's money. We're making money. We need the players, James. We need the experience. We need players that put numbers on the board, goals, assists, and Postecoglou, I think, picked him. I think how he described Solanke. He said he was at Liverpool, at Chelsea, a big club, and then he struggled, and then he liked that part, that he fought back to find his way back to a big club. And I think now that he found himself back, because we are a big club, James. We are a big club. We're a big name. So Solanke to found himself back at the big club, I think he's going to relish this opportunity. And he probably can't wait to either try to win a European trophy or get back into the Champions League.
Melvin, last question for you. Of course, big game in the Carabao Cup semi-final, first leg Wednesday. What are you thinking?
I don't know. It's a strange one because with Spurs, you never know. You never know. I mean, you really never. I really want the fans to get behind the team. I mean, I see things online. I went today online to see, and I look at flights because I'm a bit crazy, and I was thinking, can I make it to London on Wednesday?
You can do it, right?
Yeah, I think I can, but I'm gonna see you guys anyway at the end of January. So,
we'll see you Wednesday.
I'll see you Wednesday. Because then you start to say to yourself, we're in a semi-final. Listen, the fans really need to get behind the team. I mean, we need to really generate an atmosphere for the game.
Well, I was going to say that, Melvin. What I think is a big shame is there are still tickets available.
Yeah. That's what I was going to say. That's the first thing I wanted to say. I'm not happy about that. I think Postecoglou mentioned the atmosphere. He brought it up once. He said something along the lines of, look at Rangers, look at the European away ties we had this season, and you think, why can't we do that at our stadium? I mean, White Hart Lane. I remember when we had European nights, Champions League nights, playing Inter Milan, AC Milan, playing at White Hart Lane, my television set was going to explode. I mean, that type of atmosphere. We haven't had an atmosphere like that for a long, long time. And I feel the team would do a lot better in moments like this when we have injuries. I mean, I really enjoyed the game against Newcastle, even though we lost. But I thought the players showed fight. They started to tackle. The atmosphere was good. The atmosphere was good. And it translates to the players. I mean, it helps them out in a moment like this, in a cup game like this. Let's say we don't concede in the first half and it's still 0-0, and come on, get behind the team. This is exactly what we need.
Melvin, thank you so much for joining us as always. You're always such a great contributor here on the Spurs Chat podcast. So thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. All the best.
We are now going to go to Marcus. Marcus, great to have you here. How are you?
Hi, Chris. Yeah, very well. Melvin's rushing into the airport as you speak. Hi, James. Good to see you.
Hello, mate.
Hopefully we'll see him on Wednesday.
This is my debut. Hi.
How are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now, Marcus? Are you happy? Are you? I suppose it's mixed feelings because it's been a very up and down season, hasn't it?
Yeah, I think it's tough times. Back to work Monday. Not a particularly pleasant experience. Bantering with the lads about the weekend's results. It's becoming a bit of a habit. I think winning's a habit. You see it with Newcastle 5 in a row. Villa on a good run, so winning's a good habit to get into. But at the moment, I think we're really struggling, and primarily down to the injuries. I think that we're experiencing. But you do wonder. I know we've got Tamworth on Saturday, but you do wonder where the next win's going to come from and where that confidence is going to come from. I think Johnny was talking about that on your chat earlier, Chris. But yeah, difficult time. But I'm pro Ange. I like the guy. I like his attitude. He's obviously a very principled man, which I like. However, he's kind of bordering on obstinate. He's a sort of custodian of the team, doesn't own the club. But I think some short-term pragmatism and flexibility would certainly help the players. With both goals on Saturday were giveaways, 30, 40 yards out, playing out from the back, putting ourselves under pressure. So, yeah, I just think he could probably help himself by being less obstinate and a bit more flexible. And Chris, it only have to be short-term. You know, we're in an unprecedented situation at the moment with a level of injury. So if that doesn't call for a change of approach, I don't know what was. And he could be really honest and say, these are the cards we've got at the moment. I will adapt the style to suit the quality and age of the players that we're playing, because we've got backups for backups at the moment. You know, we've just bought our fourth goalkeeper. Effectively,
I think you're right, what you're saying. In terms of that, what did you make of Ange's comments after the game, where he basically blamed the referees and stuff? Would you like him coming out and saying that, or what's your thoughts on that?
He's deviated a bit lately. He's definitely feeling the pressure. I think in certain press conferences recently, probably going back to the Rangers game, he said a few comments that he's clearly irked under pressure. I remember last season he said he would never talk about referees or bias, and he might be getting a ban coming up after what he said on Saturday. But I get his frustration. I mean, you know, even Eddie Howe said it was a handball. I've seen it loads of times from different angles. Crazy decision. But yeah, I think it's just the side of the pressure that he's feeling, that he's having these sort of clearly emotional reactions to the run of bad luck that we're having at the current time.
Marcus, when you spoke about the way that Ange Postecoglou sets up, when we have that level of injuries, suspensions and various other issues, you know, the sickness bug, etc., when these other players come in, does that bother you that we try and play that same way without the, I don't want to be disrespectful, but the first team qualities, the real quality players in the team? Does it bother you that we're trying to play that same way?
It does. I think the caliber of the players that we're missing are, you know, top tier. They're the elite, the best of the best we've got. You know, Reguilón's come out of ice storage. Jed Spence took 2.5 years to make a debut. They're both, you know, Spence has impressed me. I think he's come in and done well, but I don't know to what level they've been integrated with the first team, and therefore in training and warm-ups, they're really kind of in tune with Andrew's philosophy. Reguilón, definitely not. I'm amazed he's still around to play a game, but fair play to him. He put a shift in on Saturday, and I thought the second half performance was certainly better.
Well, didn't he? He was quite visibly
absolutely pumped up, showed a bit of passion. So
where would you like us to strengthen? I know there's so many positions, but if you just choose one, where would you really like to see us strengthen in January?
Number 6.
Number 6, right.
Højbjerg, probably a bit slow for the type of football he wanted to play, but just someone who's going to put a foot in and protect the back four. So defensive midfielder in front of the back. Yeah,
you're right. We play such a high line that defence does need a very strong number 6, doesn't it?
And the 2 goals Newcastle scored. No, it's Gordon's chance that Austin did a good save around the corner, but his first goal after the handball, it took 2 passes to cut through us from 40 yards out. And Dragutin was clearly, I think he had I know he was taken off at half time, but he got nowhere near Gordon for the first goal. You know, he was running through treacle. He clearly was either not fit or ill. But like I say, we've got backups for backup. Davies comes in as a backup. He's now out of the squad, so we're juggling around. But I have to say, I'd call out Archie Gray. I think he's amazing. He's an 18-year-old. I've got a 20-year-old son. You know, he's 18, doing a man's job in really difficult circumstances, and he's an absolute credit to himself. I think he's been.
I think I was drinking cider around the back of Argos or something like that.
But what baptism of fire he's had. You know, a few months ago, fans were saying, give him a game. Now we're playing him all across the back four. And against Liverpool, I felt for him because he was clearly exposed through no fault of his own. He didn't give up, still playing, trying his best. So he's been a real plus point. I agree with you about Solanke. I think he's been exceptional this season. I wouldn't judge him on his goals per game ratio. I think the way he leads the line, links up the play. 2 failed moves to big clubs, Chelsea, Liverpool. You know, could have stayed at Bournemouth. Big fish in a little pond. He took the jump, and I think Bournemouth aren't missing him. Let's not get that wrong. They're doing very well without him, but I think it's been great to see him flourish.
Marcus, last question for you. What do you make of the goalkeeping situation at the moment? Because, of course, you mentioned Brandon Austin there. Man of the match performance, by the way, against Newcastle. And now we've brought in Kinski, who has now got his work permit, I might add, and he is available to play against Liverpool. So what do you think Ange Postecoglou will do on Wednesday?
So I thought the timing was strange. The benefit of hindsight, Austin did a good job on Saturday. We seem to be in a mad rush to go out and buy a fourth choice keeper. Forster's clearly going to go at the end of the season. I think he's come in and done well generally. I'd give Austin a chance. I think he did nothing wrong. Waited 9 years. I thought Spence took a long time to get a crack at the first team, but yeah, he did nothing wrong, and I would personally stick with him. And I think a good outcome for Wednesday night is if we can still be in it for the second leg, that would probably be the best we can hope for.
Do you want to give us a score prediction, Marcus, for the Liverpool game?
Well,
or should we leave it there?
Yeah, I think that is my. I try and turn off all my notifications when Tottenham are playing. I don't want to see. I wait till the end of the game, but no, I think maybe a 1-2. To be perfectly honest, we'll still be in it for the second leg. Hopefully, some players will be back for the return.
Yeah.
Some of those top level players that we're really missing at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah, well, team selection for the Liverpool game is going to be very, very interesting. Marcus, thanks so much for joining us, and hopefully you can come back on another show soon.
Yeah, I'd love to. Doing a great job, Chris. Keep it up. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much. Cheers, Marcus.
Take care.
We're now going to go to Steve. Steve, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening, guys. How are you?
Hello, Steve.
Very good. Right. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan, Steve?
Oh, well, it's been a tough season, hasn't it? It's been a real struggle this season, but I think things can only get better. That's what I think. Things will only get better, and we could be sat here in a year's time in a much better place. So, what are your thoughts on the season?
Well, it's been a struggle. It's been obviously a struggle, but there's been a few shining lights. If you could pick one player that you wasn't expecting to be as good as they are this season, who would you choose?
Archie Gray.
Yeah.
It's got to be Archie Gray. He's, like you said, like your previous guest said, he's only 18 years old. And he's come in and been asked to do a man's job, and he's played probably a lot more than he was, probably thinking he was going to. So he's doing a real, I can't fault him at all.
He's out of position, isn't he? Most of the time he's out of position. Yeah, you're right.
Which is why I think when we get our players back, him going to number 6, he might thrive in that.
Yeah.
So, but no, Archie Gray definitely.
Steve, in your opinion, what is the absolute bare minimum that Spurs need to do in this January window? Because I know a lot of us say it's very difficult to get business done in January, particularly when the new format of the Champions League, the Europa League, the Europa Conference League. So teams want to keep their best players. It's going to get hard. It's going to be hard to get some real quality in. But Johan Langer needs to work overtime this month to certainly get some deals done. In your opinion, what's the bare minimum we need to do?
I think we need centre-back cover. Because hopefully when Romero and Brandon Ben come back, they can actually stay fit until the end of the season. Because if we lose them again, I think we'll struggle. So centre-back cover is definitely needed. And maybe up front as well, because we can't really rely on Richarlison because he's injured all the time. But apparently he's back in first team training today, but for how long, we just don't know. And Solanke can't obviously play how many games we played already? 28 this season already? And Solanke's been called upon most of the time. He can't keep going on because he'll pick up an injury. And then if Richarlison's injured, then we've got no one up front again. So, yeah, definitely up front as well. So I'm very happy with the fact that we signed another goalkeeper, though. I am very, very happy that we signed another goalkeeper.
Is there any players, I know it might seem like a crazy question, but is there any players you'd like to see sold in January? Or do you think we need to keep hold of them at the moment?
I don't, to be honest with you, James, I don't think we can. I don't think we can leave anybody.
The only thing I thought was Richarlison in terms of bringing in Lancashire maybe, but then yeah, you're right. We need Solanke's rest, don't we?
Can I ask both of you that question on Richarlison? Would you keep or sell him in the summer?
In the summer, sell. For me.
Yeah, definitely sell.
Get good money.
Yeah.
Take him to Saudi Arabia and then get some good money for him and sell. Yeah.
I think he came out the other day and said he's not going anywhere in January. So, from what I can gather, but I mean, can I ask you guys a question? How long do you think Vicari is going to be out for? Because I saw on his Instagram the other day that he's not wearing a protective boot anymore, and he's wearing...
that actually was posted about 17 seconds after we signed that new goalkeeper. Like as soon as he put the post, he go, "Oh, I'm fine. I've got my boots on. I'm fine."
Yeah, I love that.
Maybe obviously signed the new keeper, and then obviously like Vicari put his Instagram story up, and I was like, okay. So
I reckon it's February is back, isn't it? Like I don't. Do you know, Chris?
Late Feb, early March.
Right.
But of course, Steve, I think that James is right there. You know, having signed a new goalkeeper, Vicario is going to want to be in the gym. You know, do everything faster. He is going to want to come back, and he's such a great character and such a leader as well. You know, the amount of time that he shouts at the back four and shouts at the team and directs the team. I really like Vicario. I really like his personality. And I think that he will get back as fast as he possibly can. He's not going to be one of these, trying to be out for too long, because he wants to get back and help the team, particularly when we're signing a new goalkeeper. I love that competitiveness.
Vicario's parents as well. Have you met them? Yeah. Have you seen them?
I've seen them, James, but I've not bothered them. Yeah.
Do you know about them, Steve? They're as famous as Vicario. They're turning up in like bricklayers and all this, having a drink with all the fans and.
Oh, that's brilliant. That's what you want, though, isn't it? You want people like extended family to be like involved with where the player is and stuff like that. It's just really, really good. So, yeah.
Steve, have you been to see James sing at the stadium?
No, because I completely. The funny thing is, I completely forgot where he was.
So do I, Steve. So do I sometimes. Yeah.
So I stood somewhere in one game and I thought, oh, he's going to be here, and it wasn't him.
Had a much better time.
Yeah. Plus, where James' performance is upper levels, isn't it?
He's all over.
Yeah, all over different places. Yeah.
Yeah.
Steve, last question for you. Of course, we face Liverpool in the Carabao Cup semi-final. We know this is going to be very, very difficult over the two legs. How strong do you think that Liverpool will go? Because as Ange Postecoglou said the other day, he's not exactly, got a selection headache, because, we don't have the players at the moment. We are down to bare bones. But of course, we did give a really good account of ourselves against Newcastle. Do you think we can do that again against Liverpool Wednesday evening?
Over two legs, why not? It's a cup semi-final, so I think we're a bit under pressure in the league, but we've done pretty well in the cup this year. I know we beat Man City and Man United, but I mean, when we played Liverpool a couple of weeks ago, we got 3 goals past them. We scored 3 past them, and then I think the last 2 visits to Anfield, we've scored 5 goals in 2 games, so they can be got at. Did you see the Liverpool game yesterday? Against Man United, they really struggled against Man United yesterday.
Hopefully they're not Wednesday. That's
I think he may rest a few players.
But then they have Stanley, don't they, on the Saturday? So do you not think
is it Forest they've got on? Oh no, it's not, is it?
They've got Accrington, Stanley, and then I think it's Forest after that, isn't it?
I think he may go. I think he may rest players for those next 2, because obviously they've got Forest in the league next at the City ground.
Yeah.
So that's not going to be an easy game, with obviously Forest sitting second, Forest?
Third.
Third, yeah. But so that's not going to be an easy game for them. So I think he may possibly have an eye on that one, really. So I think he may rest players for the next 2 games. So hopefully, if he does, we can get if we can get anything on Wednesday night, slight advantage, I'll be happy to take to Anfield, and then hopefully by then we'll have Romero, Van der Ven, Richarlison, all those players back again. So just don't know. But yeah, I'm going to go for a 2-1 Spurs win. Stick my neck out and say 2-1.
Good lads.
Love the positivity. Well, thanks so much for joining us, Steve, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys. Great show as always.
Take care,
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Cheers. Bye.
James, how strong do you think that Arne Slot will go on Wednesday evening?
I think unfortunately, I think he'll go full on because why wouldn't you really? Because you've got 10 days till I think Accrington Stanley. Who are they? Remember that advert with the milk?
Yeah.
I think you've got 10 days until there's going to be a competitive game, and he can make 11 changes, can't he, for Accrington Stanley game, really, and still pretty much have a strong bench and still go through. Same as we can for Tamworth, obviously. So I think you'll see two very strong sides going toe to toe, which happened not so long ago. But I think you're going to see a very spirited display from Tottenham again. I also think that you might get a slightly more reserved than what we are starting to see in these last couple of games. You are starting to see that hint of adapting from Ange. You are starting to see that not as much gung-ho from the fullbacks, slightly better defending. I think you're going to see a bit more of that. You're not going to see a 9-goaler, I don't think, on Wednesday.
I don't know, James. I don't know how to predict these games right now. No. Honestly, the last four podcasts, when we do the score predictions, I'm like, I have no idea. Who can predict our results at the moment?
If you're not going to predict it, it's a good one. What score would we have to be leading by, do you think, to make us favourites to go through?
About 6-0.
But that's true. We were saying 4-0, and I'm going to go up there nervous. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think we're laughing, but that's probably true. Do you
remember the Champions League 2019?
Yeah.
The day before our Ajax game with Liverpool. Everyone wrote them off, and then they went through to the final. Incredible.
Finals, yeah.
Let's go to talk to Gary now. Gary, good evening. How are you?
I'm very good, thank you, Chris. How are you?
Very good, thank you. Yes, great.
Hi, Gary. How you doing?
Yeah, good, thank you, mate. Good.
Gary, great to have you here. How are you feeling right now as a Spurs fan? What did you make of the performance against Newcastle?
Yeah, it's pretty much the same as before, Chris. I think we spoke last week. I think we're still in a position of, it's a bit intrepid at the minute, isn't it, in terms of the league. I thought we played quite well against Newcastle, certainly for the first 15, 20 minutes, although we did concede twice, both for our own sort of, it was down to us that, I know the handball was the handball, but we overplayed from the back out on the first goal. I think Spence sort of switched off on the second, an easy tap in for Isaac. But the second half, we were certainly really good, I thought. But I have to say, I never felt like we were going to actually win the game. We flattered to deceive. We huffed and we puffed, but we didn't really, it was quite a frustrating game for me, although I thought we played really well, particularly in the second half, as I say. So,
do you see a big change coming from February, March onwards when we get our players back? Do you think that that's what a lot of Spurs fans will probably think is that's suddenly going to click on and we're going to go for a massive run? Or what do you envisage happening for the second half of the season?
I want to try and be really positive. I thought I'd come on here tonight and I really want to be positive. I don't know. I pretty much, if I'm honest, I pretty much feel it's going to be pretty much same old.
Right.
Unless he adapts. I keep saying it. I said to you last week, Chris, when I was on, I think at times it's exhilarating. It really is. When it clicks, it's fantastic.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, more often than not, it doesn't. And we are wide open. I mean, against Liverpool coming up, I think he should switch to a 5 at the back. I know you're going to say, well, we ain't got no defenders.
But I was going to say that's not going to happen.
No, it's not going to happen. We know it's not going to happen. But personally, I'd play Spence, I'd play Archie Gray and Dragusin. I'd play Regulon on the left. I'd play Porro on the right. And let's keep it really tight, because otherwise, I just get the feeling it's going to be the same outcome. And I'm sounding negative already. I can't believe it.
Well, Gary, I asked a number of guests on who came on last week about is it going to be bothering a lot of people if we start going out of cup competitions? Because I feel like everyone this season has really got their heart set on us winning a trophy. And I know that sounds ridiculous in some people's eyes, because we're 12th in the league table. James and I just joked about results. You never know what to predict with Spurs, but that could work in our favour sometimes in a cup competition. How far do you think that we will go, and do you think that the mood will change the minute if we did go out of a cup competition? Because I feel like everyone's got their hopes on that.
I agree, Chris. Me personally, if we go out against Liverpool, it's a disaster. It really is. I know it's a massive ask. They're playing really well. They're a great team. They're on fire at the minute. I'll be devastated if we do, because I've got everything on this competition. I know some people say, well, it's the least of the cups and blah, blah, blah. But me personally, I don't care. Why do people dismiss these cups? Because even when we were in the Europa Conference League, I publicly said every single week, let's go strong, let's go and win the competition. Definitely.
And everyone and most Spurs fans were like, what do we want that rubbish for? Like, why are we so snobby about these cups?
I'll take anything, Chris. Honestly, I'm still living the memory of the Audi Cup. I'll take anything. I don't care.
With that in mind, Gary, would you? I know this might be a bit of a specific question, but would you go not make 11's changes against Tamworth? Would you put a bit of experience in there? I
definitely would. I know it's very difficult, because obviously he's got a depleted squad. We have to, that's paramount. We have to take that into account.
Yeah.
But in saying that, I think he's got to go as strong as he can.
Right.
It's a bit of a juggling act, isn't it? Because we're in a real precarious position in the league. I said to you last week, Chris, if that doesn't pick up, I think it'll be the league that does for him. With the fans, it will probably be the cups, potentially. But I think with Daniel Levy and his mob, I think it will be the league. I really do. And like I said last week, I really don't want to see that. But
do you think 12th and winning a cup won't be enough then this season?
It would be for me, if I'm honest. I said to Chris last week, I want top four. I want it all. I want top four.
Yeah.
I want I want the cup. I want to win the Europa League as well. I want it all. Why shouldn't we want it all? I know we never get anything, but why should we want it all?
How many years have Spurs fans said, "Oh, I'd rather finish mid-table and win a trophy"? Do you think that could actually happen?
I hope so. I truly do. But I just want him to move up that league. I really do, because I think that's going to be the problem moving forward. I said that to you last week, Chris. I think if he doesn't start making headroads up the league or inroads up the league, I think his position becomes very, very precarious quite quickly as well, bearing in mind the games we've got coming up. I think Melvin mentioned that.
Gary, let me come to this question here, or this point from Jonathan Davis. He says his tactics are terrible. Forget injuries, out. There are a lot of people that feel like this. And when you talk about Daniel Levy's time at Spurs, 24 years, we average managers 18 months at Spurs. It's got to change at some point, hasn't it?
Absolutely. I totally agree. I mean, I think there will come a point where Daniel Levy will push the button on it. He will. So Ange needs to do something to change the momentum. He has to. I mean, James said it earlier about adapting the playing style to fit with the squad. If he went for back five, just hypothetically, and at any point during the game he wanted to switch to the usual 4-3-3, he can still do that. So I mean, he doesn't have to stay. If it's not working and we concede, I don't know, 2 quick goals for argument's sake, he can switch then and then go all out attack. If I was him, I would have been training them all this week to play in a back five, because they know how to play in a 4-3-3.
So if you was him, Gary,
well, they sort of know.
If you was him, how would you prioritise the 4 competition? Well, not 4, the league, not the competition, but how would you prioritise 1 to 4 in like the League Cup, the League, the FA Cup, and the Europa League? What would you go for the most, and where would you rotate the most?
As we sit right now, Europa League,
right?
Sure, because that gets us in the Champions League anyway, and I think that's, with all due respect to the others, that's the, in my opinion, the more prestigious trophy. I want the best,
Andrew said he wants it all. And Gary, you remind me of the journalist in the press conferences, expecting Ange to change. How many times has he told us all? I'm not changing.
I know. I keep praying that he'll, not that I know anything more than he does, but like I said the other week, I sit and watch the games, and I can see what's happening. When I was speaking to Barnaby on Saturday, I said it's 2 quick passes, buff over the top. Porro's in trouble. He's fighting with two players on his side. We're wide open, and you can just see it before it happens. It's just I think we've got to stay in that tie against Liverpool. That's the key thing. If we can stay in the tie by hook or by crook, I'm not sure how, but if we can, then we can go to Anfield, and you know what? Let's just go for it. Then we can go gung ho. Sorry, do
you think we will stay in the tie by the end of play Wednesday? Do you think we'll still be in it?
If he listens to me, yeah, I think we will. I sincerely hope so. I think if the boys play like they did in the second half against Newcastle, and have that added bit of finishing quality, then I think we can stay in the tie. But it all depends on how we defend. I feel that's always the same in my eyes when I watch Tottenham in a minute. If we defend well, we will score goals. Do you know what I mean? But we're conceding 2-3 a game. That means you've got to score 3 or 4. It's just not. We can't keep doing that. It's not sustainable, should we say? It's
Gary. Thank you so much for coming on. And no Dan writes here, great guest, Gary, talks sense, a real Spurs fan. So thank you so much. You're always a great guest on this channel, and you're always very welcome. So thank you.
Can I just say one more thing?
Yeah.
When I was on last week, I thought Craig was excellent, absolutely excellent. But I have to say, James is so much better.
Yeah.
Only joking, Craig.
Prioritize between me and Craig.
You're both great, and Chris obviously goes without saying.
Thank you,
Fantastic.
thank you, Gary. I'll see you again soon.
Take care, guys.
Cheers.
See you later. Bye-bye.
James, you enjoying talking to these Spurs fans?
Yeah, great, man. It's great fun. Love it.
Right, we're now going to go to Liam in London. Liam, one of our regulars. Liam, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. How are you both?
Hello, Liam.
Hello.
All good.
You're all right,
mate. Liam, how are you feeling, and what positives do you take from that Newcastle game? Because there was a lot of fight, and I think a lot of people were quite surprised on how much desire that we had in that game, particularly with all of the injury problems that we've got at the minute.
Yeah, I was just glad that we showed some actual spirit. It actually showed the players seemed to be really fighting on Saturday, even after all the injuries we've had and all the noise around Ange. The players did seem to go out, and that first 10-15 minutes, again, even though we conceded from a handball, which, that can't be on the players. That was just blatant cheating to us from the referee. But I thought we started really well. We went out, we fought, and we fought all game, but it was just, it never felt like we were going to score. And it was one of those games where you never felt like we were going to get an equaliser or push on, but you can't fault the players for the effort. We really did push, and it was really good to see that after the last couple of results.
What did you make of Austin's performance, and would you start Kinski or Austin on Wednesday?
I thought Austin was really good. Was it his 9 years or something he's been at the club? And that's his debut. I thought that was to wait all that time, then come out at home with the club under pressure and put out a performance like that. I thought it showed real spirit. I did think it was a bit of a weird decision getting in another goalkeeper after Austin, but I guess the club had it lined up in a week in advance or whatever. But now we have 5 goalkeepers if you include Whiteman, who sits on the bench. So I think Forster will probably go in the summer. I think Austin's showed he's a great backup. He'll probably be a 3, won't he, after the new goalkeeper in and Vic first. But I'd definitely start him on Wednesday. I think he showed real spirit.
Start Austin on Wednesday, yeah?
Yeah, I'd start Austin, yeah.
Liam, we are constantly being linked to PSG striker Randall Kolo Muani at the moment. He's on £160,000 a week, which Spurs will need to cover most of that. If he joins Spurs, Tottenham want him on a loan. PSG want an obligation to buy included in the contract, and they want at least £50 million, getting the majority of their money back. Do you think this would be a good deal for Spurs? Do you like the player?
I mean, I can't really say I know too much about him. I'm pretty sure I remember watching him in the World Cup, when the World Cup final against Argentina. He seems like a really good player. Throughout that World Cup, he seemed really good. Quite pacey, going forward, quite attacking. I mean, I'll go for it, to be honest. We have the money to spend. I would go for it. It'd be good maybe to have him alongside Solanke, because they seem kind of like two different. Where Solanke's more of a hold up man, hold up the ball, lay it off kind of player. Can like poaches in the box. Cowlin Mawani seems a bit more fast, like a bit more pace. So maybe he could. I think those two could link up quite well.
Is there a player that you've watched this season and that doesn't play for Spurs and thought you want him? You're a bit jealous that he plays for them, or it fit well into this system? Is there a player that obviously, apart from the very, very obvious people like maybe Mo Salah and stuff, is there a player that you've watched and thought, right, get them at Spurs?
Yeah, realistic ones.
Yeah, realistic
ones. Yeah. I've always quite liked McAllister from Liverpool. I know he might go under the radar sometimes, but
realistic ones.
Yeah, exactly, realistic ones. I mean, we were linked to him.
Wolves' fourth choice goalie or something. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, go on. Really,
sixth goalkeeper. Yeah, I think he's quite a good attacking player. I mean, we were linked to him at one point, weren't we, before he went to Liverpool? We were in talks with Brighton, but I think he's a good player. He attacks well. He's kind of like Maddison, but Maddison kind of needs to show more recently. But I definitely think he's a good player, and I think he would fit well into the system.
Liam, when we talk about realism, is it realistic that Spurs will go on to lift a trophy this season under Postecoglou? And do you think that Postecoglou is going to get the time and the patience from the fans and, most importantly, the board?
I think the fans, yeah. I think we do need to, because it's like a revolving door at Spurs. I've said this, in previous shows. A manager comes in. It's not the managers that's the issue. Yeah, it is the board that, in my opinion, is the issue. It's the mentality at the club, and I think Ange is changing that. So that's why we need to give him time. I think he's changing that mentality, and I really do hope we win a trophy this season. I mean, Europa League, FA Cup, League Cup, but I'd take anything. Just win anything.
I've always said, Liam, I think this time when you hit that major reset button, things do need to be very different. Do you think the club and the board are operating in a different way? Do you see any differences than what we've seen before? Because even David Ornstein yesterday come out and said, David Ornstein from The Athletic, that Postecoglou has 100% backing from the club. Despite us being 12th in the Premier League, because as we all know, league position to the club means everything.
Yeah. I think probably the fans' voice, at games, the new anti-Levy chants and everything. I think he knows, that quite a few fans kind of have the same opinion as me and know that it's not the managers that's the issue. So I think probably by backing the manager, he's probably trying to get on the fans' side and try and dampen that kind of tension. But I am a full believer in, I think it's Levy and Enoch. It's the board that's the issue. It's not the managers. We never give managers time. So I'm glad if the board are fully backing him. I'm glad they are, but I think there's probably ulterior motives behind it.
How much time would you like to see him give Ange? How much time would you like to him have? Not envisaging the upturn of form, etc., or what you envisage happening. How much time do you think they'll give him?
I mean, I think they'll probably give him until the end of the season. And because, like Chris said there, the top four, as Levy said before, is everything. We know that. It's all about league position. So I think if we don't make like a push for like top four, we don't win anything, then I think the board will probably get rid of him. I think he probably has till the end of the season at most before Levy. And then depending on if we win anything or league position, then I think Levy will probably get rid.
Liam, last question for you. Let's finish on a positive. What positives would you take from this season? Because some of the callers so far have said, about the young players, Bergvall, Archie Gray, these players have probably got a lot more game time this season than any of us would have thought they would have got.
Yeah, Archie Gray, Bergvall, Sarr, and I think even Kulusevski, because last season he had a pretty poor season, and he's been our best player. He's really come out and he's taken this season, really by the horns, and he's really pushing forward. And this is the Kulu that we bought, is what I think. This is the Kulusevski that we bought, and it's made me happy to see him actually putting out performances and really trying. But definitely the young players, Gray being played out of position, putting the performances he consistently puts in every week, where, in my opinion, he's one of our best players, if not the best player on the pitch. I think that shows real character. Bergvall, he seems to really fight every time he comes on, really wants to impress. I like that. And Sarr, I'm a huge fan of Sarr. I think he barely ever puts a foot wrong, if I'm honest.
Well, Liam, as per usual, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for joining us, and we look forward to talking to you again soon.
Yeah,
Cheers,
bye guys. Thank
Take
you.
care, mate.
Cheers, Liam. James, Liam mentioned Kulusevski there. How impressed have you been with him this season? Because, you know, his level, the game, it just seems to have gone up a notch. And, of course, he was named captain against Newcastle, showing real leadership qualities all season as well.
Well, it's very strange. That was literally just going through my brain when Liam was talking that I was going to start asking, ask the next guest about captaincy. And
we'll do that. We'll do that. Let's do that. Let's do that.
Yeah.
Let's get Harry on. Harry, how are you?
Good, thank you, Chris. James, how are you both?
Hey, Harry, are you on? You good?
Yeah, good, thank you. Thank you for having me on.
Harry, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
All over the place, to be honest. But I think the main thing with me is that I've always been, I've always fully backed Ange and always will. I mean, I don't know if I'm, if I overback him, but for a long while now, I've always said the injuries we've got, I don't think I've ever seen anything quite like it. And that sick bug was, rotten luck. I mean, I think only us this season would get a case like that. They would keep out, Dragic couldn't play a whole game to come off for half time. Gray, the whole season he's been amazing. Like genuinely, he's 18 years old, come from Leeds. It was quite a big price tag when he was signed as well, 40 million. There was question marks whether he would live up to the potential. He's played out of position the whole season, right back, but mostly at centre half. He's been unbelievable, and it was such a spirited performance against Newcastle. I mean, usually, against Forest on Boxing Day and Ipswich at home, I was very annoyed at the performance. I wasn't happy, but after the loss to Newcastle, I was proud of the way that we played in that second half. Reguilon, he came on, and you could see him doing this to the fans in the second half, trying to get the passion back up. It was brilliant. I was really proud.
What were your thoughts on? Don't know if you heard us just then. What were your thoughts on Kulusevski being captain and something more regular, maybe either next season or season after in the future? Kulusevski as a captain for Spurs. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it was fully deserved for the Newcastle game. Obviously, without Son, I think the worst thing that happened to Son was being given the captain's armband. To be completely honest, he's been a great servant to the club, but I think as soon as he's given the captain's armband, I think it might went to his head. He might be getting on a bit in terms of age, but he just hasn't been the same player since the beginning of last year. He was decent at times. Obviously, he was still our top scorer, but I think Kulusevski is. I think he's a better player to be captain. Obviously, I don't think we can trust Romero as captain. Unfortunately, Maddison is a shout, but I think Kulusevski should be given a few more opportunities, definitely, because
I love that mentality where he says, like, "I'm hungry, let's eat." That kind of. That's exactly what we need.
That's what we need. Yeah. Because you see Son in the team talks before the game, and he's always looking like quite serious and like he's giving something, but it never really shows on the pitch. Like we'll concede a goal, but Son won't be barking at teammates like Lloris would use to turn around and blast the defenders, blast the players to switch back on. And I think Kulusevski would do the exact same thing. The let's hungry, let's eat. That is exactly what you want. And they went on to win that game 5-0, I believe. So that's exactly what we need as captain. So.
Harry, you spoke a little bit about Heung-min Son there. Are you surprised that he hasn't been given a new contract yet?
Maybe. I'm not sure, because obviously there's been, I think, rumours to Barcelona is the top club that obviously they're looking to sign him, but I'm not sure really, because I think Son, what is he? He's 31 now, isn't he? Son?
32.
32. And he's. I don't know. I really don't know. I think this season will be a big clue as to whether he's good enough for next season. But I think with Yang Min Haek obviously being brought in, Odegaard will get back to full fitness. And then, if we give Mikey Moore a chance, maybe, unfortunately, as gutting as it is to say, maybe Son's time is up and he can still be a squad player, but I don't think he can be a starter next year.
Really? This is Heung-min Son we're talking about. I'm surprised that the guy is being dissed so much.
No, I mean, I'm not a disser. I think it's like I've always been someone who's I've never criticised the players. I've always fully backed them. I've never been one of the sour supporters, but I think we have to open our eyes a bit this season and see that Son against Liverpool. I mean, I was there in the South Stand for the 6-3 loss, and he wasn't taking on his man at all. He went backwards. Spence as a left back, who's obviously not even a left back, was going forwards more on the left hand side than Son. And as a captain, with the captain's armband on, as a left winger, 3 years ago he would have been absolutely running up and down the wing. But I think it's clear that he's lost a yard of pace, and I just don't think he can start next season.
We've been here before with Sonny, though. Sorry, that form up and down. We've been here before, haven't we? Do you remember hat trick at Leicester City, I think.
Yeah.
And so it's happened before. Does this seem to be like a longer period? That's why it's worrying you more? Or?
I'm hoping it's a longer period, because the last thing I want is Son to have the whole season as how he is at the moment, and the fans continually, diss him, because there were quite a lot of fans that were having a go at Son in the crowd, and it was horrible to hear, because he's been monumental for us the last 5-6 years or so. But one thing I was hearing quite a lot from fans and people, on the walk back to the tube station and stuff, was that Kane made him look better than he actually is, which I don't think is true. I mean, yes, obviously the service and the link up was always there, but quite often I don't think any other player could have finished some of the balls that Kane were put through. So I think we've been grateful to have both of them playing at the same time. But people
Kane
have to
went into 2019. Son helped take us to the final, didn't he? Really?
Yeah, he did, exactly. Yeah. I mean, we had Son for Ajax and City, and Son was getting those goals at the Etihad. He got the one at home. But I think people have to realise and actually respect the fact that he's our club captain. His service has been terrific. And even if he is having an off patch now, the last 5 or 6 years, without him, I don't think we would have made half the wins. And I doubt we would have got to the final without him.
Harry, I want to ask you about the youth players and like the under-21 players. Are you surprised that a lot of them haven't had more opportunities under Ange this season?
Yeah, I was definitely annoyed about Dorrington. I would like to see him come on at half-time against Newcastle, to be honest. I mean, I like Reguilon, I always have. I think he's got the passion, but obviously he's not a centre-back. And Dorrington he's a fully, he's homegrown. He's a centre-half. I would have liked Dorrington to come on. But Reguilon, I mean, yeah, he did well, but I would like Dorrington to come on at half-time. He came on against Southampton as well. I was quite impressed with that when he came on. He looked quite composed and mature. And Mikey Moore, I mean, I don't understand his flu case. It's gone on for months, hasn't it? But I think he's back in first team training now. So I'd like to see him start a few games, actually, towards the end of the season, if Son continues this rough patch. And then, obviously, next year, we've got players like Lancashire. I thought Lancashire had a good game at Galatasaray until he got sent off. He's looked good against teams he's come on towards the closing stages. So I'd like to see more of Lancashire, hopefully. And then we've got a few other players as well that have, that we come back from loan spells as well.
How do you think Dorrington feels when you got Romero out, you got Mickey van der Ven out, Dragason's ill, you got Archie Gray being put there, and you're still not being put on?
Yeah.
That must be quite hard to manage. And I was discussing this with my flatmate, who's a Tottenham fan as well, and that's a very hard position. You must be thinking, "What is this? It? Like, how do I get my chance now?" Then, how do you think it feels?
Yeah, I agree with you. I fully agree with you there. I mean, I think how old is he? He's 20, isn't he, at the moment, Dorrington?
19? He's 20.
Yeah, I think it's one or the other. But I mean, I think obviously Archie Gray's younger than Dorrington, and he's obviously playing out of position. So he must be thinking, what, have I done anything wrong, or is there anything that I can do? But as I said, I think Archie Gray, he's obviously Dorrington hasn't started. Archie Gray has been starting, and that the first few games Archie Gray had at centre half, he was unbelievable. But I do think that Dorrington should be asking questions. Why am I not getting looking? Because he came on against Southampton, but that's great. But I'm sure he would prefer to start that game. And against Liverpool midweek, obviously I doubt he will start because it's a massive game, and it's I think one of the games that will decide Ange's future at Spurs. But if I was Dorrington, I'd definitely be questioning why I've not had more of a look in at the moment.
Harry, last question for you. The Liverpool game on Wednesday, how are you feeling ahead of it?
Scared, but obviously I would have preferred the home leg, the home leg second. Obviously, I'm sure everyone would. But I think, I mean, we got Maddison and Sarr suspended as well, haven't we? So it's going to be tough. But Bentancur's back. I mean, I don't know if you agree, but I think whenever I see Bentancur's name in the lineup, it kind of reassures me a bit because he seems so composed compared to Bissouma, who he's just too rash. And I love Bissouma. But Bentancur back, that will give a bit of control and balance to the midfield.
He's been dangerous at corners quite a bit.
Yeah, he's quite an aerial threat. He's scored against Ipswich and Wolves from corners, both quite powerful headers. I think we got the home leg. The crowd will be in full voice, and Ange wins things in the second season, doesn't he? So we're going to see if that's true.
Always, Harry.
Always, yeah.
Hopefully.
So I've got to back us, and I think we can get a result, but I think we have to win the first leg if we want any chance. Because I think the away leg, even though we may have key players back, I think the away leg will be difficult. Having said that, Slot may rest some key men. Obviously, they're focusing on the league. They've got the Champions League. They've got the FA Cup to look forward to as well. So I think it will be a rotated team for Liverpool, but we have to play our football. And there's, I think we have to go at them straight from the off.
Harry, thank you so much for joining us, and you're going to be joining us on the Spurs Chat podcast very soon, so looking forward to that.
Thank you very much for having me.
Thanks, Harry.
Cheers, Harry.
you.
Speak to you soon.
Thank you.
We're now going to go to Steve in the Czech Republic. Steve, one of our regulars. How are you?
Hi, Chris. All right, yeah. And yourself?
Hi, Steve.
Hello, James. Nice to meet you.
And you, man.
Like this. Yeah. What did you say, Chris?
Steve?
What did you say? How am I doing?
How are you doing, and how are you feeling right now? Because you've got a smile on your face, but of course we are 12th in the Premier League table. But the positives are we are still in all the cup competitions.
Yeah, as I said to Barnaby, yeah, I'm happy that we're still in the cups. You know, as we all know, the last time we won a trophy was back in 2008, and our league position was, I think, was 12th, something like that. So you can't have everything. It was the guy on earlier wants everything. I understand that, but realistically, I'd be happy with a cup.
What's been what's your favourite era or favourite season you can think of as a Spurs fan from right back?
That's a difficult one. I think.
I know. I always like to
see, but I really my first season, I think, with the FA Cup final, 66, 67, the 67 final against Chelsea when we won 2-1. I started supporting Spurs because of Jimmy Greaves. So that's the era. Dave Mackay, Pat Jennings, Cliff Jones, all those kind of players. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. And then obviously going on later on into Europe, that was also a good period. And then again with Harry Kane, apart from we didn't actually win anything, to watch some of the football we played under Pochettino was a delight. And I thought we were extremely unlucky, obviously, in the Champions League final. So it's hard to put my finger on one era. I like
the Klinsmann partnership as well. I love that. I know we didn't win too much, but like that Klinsmann-Sheringham partnership was amazing for me.
Incredible.
Yeah, that was also another good era. Yeah, there's been different phases over the decades, but we find it difficult to win something.
I just want to put a little bit of positivity in, that's all.
Yeah.
Steve, Steve, we spoke earlier about how many managers that we have had, particularly under Daniel Levy's chairmanship. How much time do you think Ange Postecoglou is going to get? Are you very much behind him at the minute?
Very behind him. I've never had any sort of doubts because I forget who it was. I think it wasn't Melvin. I think it was Marcus. It was saying that you have to back Ange like United backed Ferguson. You've got to give him time, as well as money for players. You have to give somebody time to build a squad. But obviously, it's going to depend on how it pans out. These cup games and the rest of the season, whether he will stay in the job. So if we don't stay in the cups and we finish mid-table, I can quite see him going, although I don't want him to go. Even if we did finish like that, I'd want him to stay. Yeah.
Does it surprise you then, Steve, the such mixed fan base, because everyone seems to have a very, very different opinion?
Yeah. Yeah, but patience is a virtue. I think sometimes a lot of the young fans, it's all like want everything now. I don't quite know what they expect. I don't know why they expect so much so quick.
With that, should we be a bit more patient with? And what's your thoughts on Destiny Udogie? Should we be a bit more patient with him? Do you think he's losing a bit of form? Was he a lot better at the start of the season, last season?
Yeah, he was much better, wasn't he, last season as well? And Porro was as well.
Do you think it's time we dipped in the market for a backup or for somebody to maybe?
I think Spence has more than proved his worth, and he can cover for both. But perhaps another defender. I'd like to see another striker. To be honest,
right.
I'd like to get someone who can, and it doesn't have to be a central striker. Just someone who can play across the front or on the wing, but cause to cause defenses problems and cause defenses to worry. When Johnson picks up the ball, and more recently Sonny, I don't get that feeling anymore, especially with Sonny. But with Johnson, I've never had that much. That here we go. It's like where's his pace? I'd like to see a striker. I don't think we need
Steve,
any more midfielders.
I was going to say you're of course based in the Czech Republic, and we've just signed the Czech Republic under-21 goalkeeper Kinski. What do you make of this signing? Are you surprised?
Well, when I was down the pub with him the other week, he didn't mention it, actually.
Hey, mate,
You cheeky
hey,
bastard. He knows I'm a Spurs fan. He didn't let me know.
I had to ask.
I've obviously done read a bit about him, like everyone has, and I know his father was a very good goalkeeper. So it's like in the family, it's a tradition, and sometimes this is a very good grounding from as a young man, from a young boy, and going into adulthood, and I think that's very important. And I think, obviously, it was all arranged. I don't know, obviously, but within the last few months, these things take time to arrange, and it's just coincided with the fact that I've forgotten his name now because he hasn't played very often.
Austin.
Yeah, Austin had a particularly good game. We actually got a chance to play. He played brilliantly. I feel sorry for the guy. Have you
seen much of Kinski play over there? Have you seen?
Not over here. I don't go to the what they call the Gambrinus League.
Right.
Sorry.
Was it
because a friend of mine's a Slavia fan. I mean, he's also supports another Premier League club who shall be nameless. But he kind of follows Slavia. And actually, I actually watched Slavia play Spurs many years ago in the Europa League or whatever it was, UEFA
Cup. Yeah.
We won 1-0. Mido was playing up front. Yeah, I got tickets through this friend of mine, and I was sitting among the Slavia fans. And
he seems to be like a goalie that plays out from the back quite well.
That's right. He does.
From a goalkeeper in the Europa League, I saw.
Yeah, that's right. He does play out with his feet very well. He's very good with his feet. I think he's about 6'2", so he's quite a tall keeper. I mean, all these stats about he's played 17 games this season and 10 clean sheets. I mean, I'm sorry, but it's a bit like the Scottish League here, with no disrespect to our Scottish cousins, but there's two teams, basically. Now and again, Pilsen have done quite well in Europe. But so if you've got a top team in front of you, you don't have to make many saves in a game. So obviously you're going to have more clean sheets. It makes sense. I'm not saying he's not a good keeper, but it remains to be seen. But it gives me a connection here with being in Czech with this, with a player, because here they've had a lot of, in the past it was like Peter Cech playing for Chelsea. So there's a lot of Czech people, if they have fans, if they have a Premier League side, it's either Chelsea or because of Rosicki at Arsenal, or because of even before that with the Liverpool players.
So what you're saying then, Steve, is you're going to see everyone in Czech Republic now walking around with Spurs goalkeeper shirts?
I hope if he plays really well, I'm hoping that his Christian name is actually the Christian name of the famous Panenka, the penalty guy.
Oh, yeah.
Antonin. Yeah. So let's hope he becomes as famous for being a goalkeeper as Antonin did for the cheeky penalty. Yeah. Ask me something
Steve,
else about.
Last question for you, and we've spoken a little bit about this already this evening, about the depth. How important is it that Ange Postecoglou gets in, some experienced players, some players that can literally come in and do a job straight away? Because, as I mentioned at the start of talking to you, we're in all of the cup competitions. It is so important to carry that on. Get to the Carabao Cup final, go far in the Europa League. Of course, we're starting the FA Cup next week against Tamworth. Yeah. We are still in all these competitions. He needs depth. He's come out and said, we need help.
Yeah, definitely he needs depth. But it's, I don't get involved with watching too much of the speculation who we're going for, as Melvin said from Malta. If Ange wants that player, and it might be for different reasons than I'm thinking or you're thinking, that'll be a good player, the guy from PSG or whatever. He definitely needs reinforcements. And I feel so sorry for him, because a lot of the press and the fans have been on his back because of the results. But, as we all know, the squad's been decimated. So I really hope that he gets at least 2 or 3 experienced players come in. It's like when we brought in Kulishevsky and what's his name from from Juventus. There's loads of fans
Bentancur.
saying, "Oh, yeah, sorry, Bentancur. I've never heard of him. I've never heard of him. Who's that? Waste of money." And it's like, give them a chance. There's, people have to develop. Players develop, and there's players that come into the Premier League and everyone's raving about them, and they do crap. They don't do anything. There's other players who come in and they flourish. I mean, Kulishevsky is a perfect example. And Bentancur, without the injuries, like the other chap said there, I'm so pleased he's back because he's good on the ball. Okay, his passes are a bit awry, but he gets stuck in. It's a bit of bite in the midfield. Sometimes a bit too much bite, but so...
I remember that transfer deadline day when we bought Kulusevski and Bentancur. I had a couple of journalists on, and I said, "What are they like?" And they literally told me that they were both terrible, couldn't control the ball. They were terrible players. What on earth Spurs are doing signing these players? And look what players they've turned out to be.
There was a famous tweet, wasn't there, by a journalist as well. I think they ended up took it down or whatever, saying that
it was the same as if you remember. Sorry to interrupt you. If you remember when we got Van der Ven. And it was Tim Sherwood who said he's very wooden. That was the best what do you call it? Putting your foot right in it. He's very wooden. Won't do well at the back, and look at him go. So we need those guys back as well. Yeah, he definitely needs, as you've asked, and we need reinforcements, and I hope we get them. Wednesday.
Do you think we will? Do you think we will?
Tough one. I'll take a draw. I think we might be able to, it all depends, obviously, who we've got available, which is a massive question, and who Liverpool put out. How much of Liverpool's second string is not really second string for most other teams, is it? So, but quality, still, I think, exactly. So, if Man United held them away yesterday, I couldn't believe that result. So anything's possible. I'd go for 2-2. I'll go for a Desmond,
Well, thank you so much for coming back on again, Steve. You're always a great guest. Thank you so much, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thank you, guys. It's nice to meet you as well, Chris. Keep it up, the music. Great stuff.
Take care, man.
Cheers.
See you, Chris. All the best.
We're now going to go to Resa. Resa, how are you? Good evening.
Good evening. How's it, Chris? How's it, James?
Hey, Resa.
Very good. Resa, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
Disappointed a bit, but we have too many injuries. And man, I think once our injuries, we get over our injuries, I think we could turn it on. Probably we could do a back end 10 out of 10. You never know. You know what I'm saying? I believe in Ange. Really.
Oh,
right.
We've seen Archie Gray playing quite a few different positions. Where would you like to see him settle? What position would you like to see him settle?
Probably a 6, solid 6. I think he'll do a good job there. But the question that arises, I ask myself this too: why has Spence been brought into the side after sitting on the bench for such a long time? A great manager like Conte couldn't see anything in him, and even Ange wasn't giving the boy a chance. And he's taken his chance, and I think he can fit anywhere in the back four. And believe you me, I really believe he'll do a better job than Romero, being partner with Van der Ven. Believe you me, that's my opinion. He's a good reader of the game. He's a very good reader of the game.
Got a good football brain, isn't he? Yeah, you're right.
I think though, Resa, with Jed Spence, I think there has certainly been an attitude change in him, and you can certainly see that on the pitch as well. But talking about players grabbing their opportunities, I speak about this on the podcast so often. When a player has an opportunity, you look at someone like Brandon Austin. He's been waiting 9 years to get on the pitch and make his competitive debut. When a player like that gets their opportunity finally, it's so important they grab it. And I feel like there are so many positives to take from players getting their opportunities, taking their opportunities. When you look at Bergvall, Archie Gray, Jed Spence, Austin last week, there are a lot of players taking opportunities.
So true. We don't have a leader. I think, when I look at great players, I always judge the first touch. If you have a good first touch, it makes you a great player. If you look at Harry Kane, great first touch. Son had a great first touch. He's lost it now. Look at his touches. Always touch. It falls away from him. He loses it. Son is gone. He's run his race. I love Son. He's been a great servant of the club. but he's run his race now. I think it's time to cash in. If we could cash in, and Yara, the stinker, Werner, how can he still be playing in the squad? Tell me, James. You tell me.
No,
Chris,
man,
come on, tell me.
I have no idea. I'm not a fan of Werner, to be honest. Like when he's coming on, I'd rather see Mikey Moore there. But the biggest mystery is why is Mikey Moore been out for so long?
I'd rather see you there, James. No, I think he's been hugely disappointing, Timo Werner.
Really?
And when he came in, I actually backed the decision and said, when we signed him the first time, I thought he would be a good option. He can play on the left, he can play on the right, he can play through the middle. Good experience in European competition. But when Spurs re-signed him, that is when it was a huge question mark for me. And some of his performances, and I've said this recently, just aren't good enough. And I don't think that he is good enough to play for Spurs. Being really frank about it.
On top of that, though, Chris, it's the attitude starting to creep in as well, isn't it? Like his mentality, and Ange is even having a go at that now, saying especially the last few games, like his mentality's not right. So it's not just the fact of the form. You almost feel a bit sorry for him because he had the form before. I can't see any reason why he should be in that team, really.
Really?
Other than we've only got about 8 players to pick from. But I hope he goes quite soon, to be honest. And I very rarely say that about a Tottenham player.
In looking at what we have, I really believe our future captain will be Bergville. This boy can play. He's got the skill. He can command that the middle of the park. He's really brilliant. Just give him time. He's on future captain. Believe you me.
Bergville is also impressed me in the air. He's quite dominant in the air, isn't he?
And he's strong. He's very strong. So the next question you're going to ask me, Wednesday, we're going to beat Liverpool 2-0. All right? We will beat them at home. Wow. I think they're there for the taking now. They're there for the taking after being taken for a good run by United yesterday. Liverpool are there for the taking. We'll beat them at home and we'll go on and draw with them at Anfield, and we'll go through to the cup final and we'll win the cup.
Who do we beat in the final?
Newcastle.
I'd still take it.
I love the positivity, and I used to be like you, Resa, but I'm a little bit more realistic now, I feel.
Yeah.
No, I believe you. All my friends in London, they know I'm a realist, and I say it as I see it. If we played crap, I say it, we played crap, right? I believe in Big Ange. Just the injuries are hampering us, and we will be there in the final hurdle. We will be there.
Can I ask you about that? Because you've said that a couple of times on the show so far that you're a big Ange Postecoglou fan. Are you surprised with the amount of negativity that is aimed at him and has been since his arrival, and particularly the last couple of months?
Well, if the results are not good, so there will be negativity. That's only normal. That's only natural, right? But why aren't we getting the results? It's there to be seen. We have lots of injuries.
From the point we are right now, what would you see as a successful season from where we are right now?
Top six.
Right.
Probably Carabao Cup winners, and then probably do well in Euro.
Okay.
Right. That's where I see us going.
Resa, of course, the transfer window. We've got one signing over the line so far. As an absolute minimum for Ange Postecoglou. How many times has he said now in the last month, we need help, we need players in? What are you expecting from this window, and what is realistic in this window for Ange?
I think we need to get in a defender, a central defender, and probably someone to be ready to replace Son. And believe you me, what I never mentioned, Johnson is not cutting it in our team. Believe you me, Johnson is not cutting it, guy. Really, he's not cutting it. We rather play a youngster because I think Johnson is championship material. He's not there. He's not for Prem. Johnson is not a material for Premier League. That's
who would you like to see out on the right going forward? Would you like to see move Kulu out there or something?
Yeah,
or who would you like to see?
Kulu. I think Mo will do a good job when he comes in, when he's fully fit. I think he was sick, so I'm led to believe. Yeah, but I think we'll have a good finish. I think, Chris, remember this. You will call me back on your show, and we'll be all celebrating together.
Do you know, I find it really sad how many fans want Heung-min Son gone from the club. I find it really sad.
That's how it is. This game, when one day you're a hero, the next day you could be a zero. That's how it is.
But I still feel like he's got so much more to give.
You know what? He's
think,
lost it.
Isn't more of an moving into an impact sub then, or
yes, impact sub. Yes.
Yeah.
I think you do at least a run for 20 minutes, 25 minutes. Yeah, impact sub will do the job.
I think I've seen this from Sonny before, though, and he always comes back. So that's how I sort of hopefully we'll see it coming, but maybe.
But he's 32 years old now.
But
His
most
can't take it anymore. But James, you must remember something. He led the line for us during the time when Kane was injured. He led the line. He was brilliant then. Right?
I love Sonny.
Right. I think the last 2 years he's been going downhill. You could see it. Right. And I think that's the end of Sonny. But I respect a legend of Tottenham Hotspur.
Resa, I can tell you that more people are agreeing with you in the comments than they're agreeing with me. There you go.
This will be your show for next week, Resa. You going on the Resa?
You might as well take over. You've already been guessing the questions we were going to ask you.
Chris, I want to be on one of your live shows after a game.
Absolutely, okay? Absolutely. You're very welcome. You're very welcome.
Based in
yes.
South Africa, but previously I was based in China. That's why you'll see my time. It's 4:24 a.m.
Oh wow!
I'm back in South Africa now, we have a big support base in China. When I was there, we had a good support base. I tried to get on your show numerous times. Unfortunately, I couldn't get there. Hopefully, you could get me on one of your lives straight after the game. Hammer and
Absolutely,
we'll go for it. Okay,
Chris, we will make it happen.
My buddy.
Resa, before you do go, tell us how and why you became a Spurs fan.
Actually, from 10 years old. Now I'm a 63-year-old young man. 10 years old, my uncle supported Tottenham Hotspur, and then the days of Archibald Crooks, Hoddle and company, Steve Perriman, Graham Roberts, Paul Muller, Falcao, was it Falcao? The striker.
Okay.
Yeah, Falcao. Yeah, and I watched Spurs play live in Swaziland against the great Manchester United side with Butch Wilkins and Brian Robson. So I've been watching them. Right now, I will want to come to the UK probably next year, and I'll call you up. You organize me a ticket. You buy me a ticket, and I'll pay you for it. All right?
Don't trust it. He might not.
And you'll go straight to see James Black sing at the stadium.
Yeah, I'll sing with him. We'll have a sing-along together.
Very well.
Okay.
Resa, I promise you it will definitely happen. You will be on the Spurs Chat podcast very soon. So thank you so much, and get to bed.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We'll speak to you soon. Bye.
Lovely. Go well. Go well.
4:24 a.m. to talk to us, James.
I'm here squinting the eyes at 8:30. You know? How's he doing that?
Wow. Right, we're now going to go to Gary. Gary, good evening. How are you?
Evening to you both.
Hello, mate. How are you?
Good. I'm good.
Gary, have you seen James play at the stadium?
No, I haven't. But I'm coming up. I live in Bournemouth area, so I don't get up much. But I'm coming up on Thursday the 30th. See a European game. So if he's singing, I'll see him then.
Yeah, I'll be there.
Oh, yeah, he'll be there.
Is it Ellsborg?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gary, how are you feeling as a Spurs fan right now?
I think we just got to put it down to the injuries. We've got to give it Andrew the benefit of the doubt. We've got to do damage limitation, I think, now to the bigger teams. Just hope that we can get through it. Make sure we get some points against the lower teams. And let's just get through, get the players back. The only thing I was a bit disappointed, I think Andy's getting a bit bad-tempered. I saw him at the pre-comp there after the match. He was sort of blaming the referee indirectly, which I don't think the referee done anything terrible. Did you in that match?
The referee?
Yeah,
for me.
He was moaning and he was implying that the referee wasn't,
That was a bad decision, Gary. That was a bad decision.
I mean, there was 4 seconds between it hitting his hand and the Newcastle goal. Like that's pretty bad.
I get what you mean about Ange. He's getting very prickly in the press conferences because he's answering the same questions week after week after week. Yeah. But I tell you what, I'm completely with Ange on the fact that referee and the VAR, I thought that was a terrible, terrible decision.
Well, that's fair enough. But I just think he was, it just seemed to be, as I said, bad-tempered. And if the stress is getting to him a little bit and it gets to the players, they need confidence building at the moment. And if he's a bit sort of, scratchy in the training and sort of a bit angry, because he did say he's angry, I don't know if he's angry with the general situation or the players. Yeah, you can see where he's coming from, but I think he's got to be more upbeat and a bit of hand around the players rather than sort of. I know it was just after the match, but I think the pressure is getting to him a little bit.
He's not a hugger, though, Gary. He said that many times. Not a hugger. Are you a hugger?
I'm not a hugger, but I think Harry. I think Harry and Poch did have that sort of, get the players back on side a little bit if it's all going a bit wrong. And I think sometimes if you're shouting, and I don't know how he's training, whether it's a shouter or is the training's high intensity, maybe that's causing the injuries. We don't really know what happens behind the scenes.
When you look at it, Gary, you look at the performances, and although the results are not there, but you can see that every single player is fighting for Ange. Every single player is playing for him. So he must be doing something right there. Are you happy with that side of it?
I think the players at the moment are giving the best they can. Yeah. I don't like the Newcastle game. I don't think you could have said they gave up, which we have seen in the past. When they've given up and you think, what the hell are they doing there? The fans would be booing them off. I think the fans are behind everyone because they are giving the benefit of the doubt because of their injuries. I think if we manage to scrape a cup, I'm not saying we will, it's a very difficult situation. It's possible, anything's possible in football, but you can't say, yeah, I'm sure we're going to win this and that and the other. I think if we scrape Europa or even the dreaded conference, I think Ange will be okay for the next. They won't get rid of him this season, but I think if the next season, if he manages just to scrape into Europe, I think they'll keep him and give him some money to spend. I think if the players do come back and the results are still poor, I think it's going to be like Pontoon. It's going to be stick or twist in the summer.
That's a good point, though, Gary, because a lot of the doubters about Ange Postecoglou have said, well, in some of these games when we've lost, we have been at virtually full strength. What argument would you put against that?
Who knows? We've over the last 2 years, we've watched games and we've all come on and you've spoken about it afterwards, and sometimes there's no answers, is there? You haven't got an answer. Your guests sort of bit upset and you think, why wasn't there the motivation? Why did they give up? We don't really know. When we do have a full side, I don't think we are still strong enough for top four.
So with that, Gary, what would you see as a successful season, and also what do you think will happen this season?
What, this season?
As in, like, league finishes and cups. What would you see?
I would say if we could scrape through to Europa, or at worst case, the Conference League for Europe next season. Below that, and no cups, I think it's going to be a 50-50.
Right.
Whether the ball just write it off as in. If the players come back and we're at full strength and the results come good, even if we just don't scrape because of the points we've got at the moment, even if it's not enough to get us where we want to be, as long as they show promise, I think they'll keep him. If it's still a bit flat, then, and again, sometimes who are you going to get? He's tried the big names. That hasn't worked.
Would you be happy with that as well, though, Gary? If we did get that and you could see promise, would you be happy with that?
I'd be happy. I'd be happy because it's very expensive to get rid of managers.
Yeah.
Who are you going to get?
Start again, rip it up.
Who are you going to get? You're going to go. You can't go for the big names because these big name managers need big players and big, you know, Mourinho's used to getting big players. Conte, big players, you know, the budget was there. You know, we can't get loads and loads of big players and totally rebuild the side with, you know, superstars. We need one. We do need
and Son in his prime.
Well, Gary, when was the last big player, as you put it, when was the last big player that you got really excited about? Because I've said this a lot on the podcast. You know, when you think about Spurs going out and signing a world-class player, I don't mean, you know, turning a player into, you know, a very good player or a world-class player. I mean actually going to buy a ready-made world-class player, someone who is going to change the game immediately, walk into your team, and is going to have a real impact. Because I say this a lot. 94.
Gareth Bale. There's only one, Gareth Bale.
Yeah, but he wasn't world-class when we bought him.
No,
that's what I mean.
I think he got very quickly to world-class.
Yeah, true.
I watched him when he was a defender in 2008, and I thought there's something special about him. And you know, no one was talking about him. He's a defender, but he got very, very. I can't really think of a, you know, Kulusevski's there's very good signings, you know, Kulusevski, Bentancur, Son, you know, but Son had a bad season to start with, you remember?
Yeah, he didn't start.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
I thought get rid of him after the first season.
Yeah.
So there's not many that.
I think the last one I remember, this is going back a long time, is Jurgen Klinsmann.
Absolutely. That's exactly what I was going to say. Yeah.
That's my son who's next to me. I can remember when they got him back the second time and he saved us some relegation. Do you remember that when he scored some goals? He's my ultimate. I mean, there's Coddle and there's Kane, but Klinsmann, I think, was a little bit special and especially he came back to help us out.
Yeah,
it wasn't the money. He came back and he did. He saved us really. So I put him down as one of my all-time.
I remember they get annoyed with him after one season. He left after one season and come back. Whatever, they got annoyed with him, didn't they? For that,
I was devastated. I was devastated when he left.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Talking about strikers, Gary.
He was really. Yeah.
I was going to say, talking about strikers, I think it would be very important for the club to get a new striker in this window if we can. You know, there are lots of very reliable journalists at the moment stating that we are after a striker in this window. Dominic Solanke is doing all this pressing, doing all this running. I could probably put an argument forward saying that he should have probably scored more goals this season, but I don't feel he's getting the service in that final third that he perhaps should be.
I can tell you something about Dominic Solanke. I live in Bournemouth. I've watched Bournemouth for 5 years, and he was quite poor for quite a few years. You know, he was. You know, it wasn't, and he's done well. I think he's a good signing. You know, he's holding the play up. I'm not bothered about him scoring 30 goals a season because he's not that sort of player. But I do think we paid 25 million over the top to prize him away from Bournemouth. I think if you look at, he's 28. You know, I don't think we're going to get a return on the resale value on him. I think it's a very good signing, but I don't think he really is in the 65 million or round about that price tag. But that's my personal opinion.
Who would you like to have seen us go for in the summer instead? Like someone like Isak or something, or? I mean, I guess
I said it on the last stream. I'd say Anton Semenyo at Bournemouth.
Oh, right, okay.
I mean, you probably guys haven't seen him, but he rips the place up. He does really rip the place up, and he's everywhere. He's in defence. He's scoring. He's a winger. He's everything. You know, and I've seen him. They got him from Bristol City for next to nothing, and you know, you've got, as I said before, look where Bournemouth are. They've got some seriously good players. And I think, there's loads of players out there that I don't know. I don't watch European football. I don't know if you guys watching Europe. We hear names, don't we, in the press? This one, that one. There's one, is it the Paris Saint-Germain player? And he went somewhere else. But he's only scored a few goals in the last few games. So why they get rid of him? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, sometimes you move to clubs and it just doesn't work out.
Yeah.
Gary, last question for you. The Liverpool game Wednesday, how are you feeling ahead of that one?
I like to think that we could pull something really out of the hat and say 2-1. I'd just like to be positive. There's no point saying, you know, oh, we got injuries. I think you think we have had some really great results against Man City, even last season. You know, we can pull it out occasionally, and maybe the motivation's there. Maybe players are playing for their shirt a little bit more now, thinking that if the players do come back from injury. But one last thing I would like to say, what has been mentioned before, I feel a bit sorry for Brandon Austin. He thought he had I'm not saying it was a wrong decision buying this player, the goalkeeper, because I don't know what it's like. But I think he's been in the club, is it 17 years? A long, long time.
Yeah.
He's just about thought that he might be number 2, possibly have a chance of a number 1 wire, step over Foster a little bit. And now he'd probably be number 2. And when Vicario comes back, he'll be down at number 3. Where does he go?
It was just bad timing. It was just bad timing. Yeah,
that's got announced. I think I was looking at the screens at the stadium as getting announced, just as they were coming out, weren't they?
Yeah, yeah.
One thing I've been impressed with, Gary, is your colour coordination with your T-shirt to the background is absolutely.
Yeah, I'm sitting in the bedroom at the moment, and the lighting's not that brilliant, so it's not a green. It's not green background. I haven't got a dirty green T-shirt. It's just the way it is.
Yeah, it looks clean to me, but this is.
It's hard to get the lighting like you guys. You know, you've probably got the.
No, you look great, mate. You look fantastic.
James has got to have a break in a minute to go back into makeup.
James, at the stadium, do you sing every match?
Yeah, it's either at the White Hart Bar or up on level 5 or the Shelf Bar on level 1. So,
right. Well, it's quite hard when we're down in Bournemouth. You know, to become a member, it works out quite expensive. You know, because you can't come down that much. But a friend managed to buy me a couple of guest tickets.
Right.
I think because it's a not that important European match, you know. I don't even know. Can't remember.
Every game's important, Gary. Every game's important.
I'm just getting the normal tickets. I won't be able to see you. I thought you might be singing out in the stadium.
No, you'll be
singing out Sweet Caroline.
You can come. It's all connected in the stadium. You can get round.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what bar are you singing in? What is it?
I didn't know where I'd be, but it'd be either if you go onto any Instagram or Facebook onto the Voice of Spurs, I always put up where I'm playing, and it'd be good to see you there, mate. I won't have my makeup on.
All right, nice to speak to you guys.
Yeah.
Gary, thank you so much.
Let's hope we have a good score on Wednesday, and I'll be watching your comments afterwards, and let's see how we go.
Thank you, Gary. Speak to you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
Cheers. Yeah. We're now going to go to Atlanta.
Wow.
America, to Wes. Wes, how are you?
I'm okay, guys. How you guys doing? How you doing, James?
Good, good, man.
All good.
What's the time there?
Huh?
What's the time there?
Oh, it's only like about 4. It's about to be 4, or it's in the middle of 3 something in the afternoon. So yeah, it's okay time.
Wes, obviously we're inside the transfer window. We've got one deal over the line so far. What's an absolute minimum we need to do in this window? Because I've spoken at length during this show about Ange getting in experienced players that can make a real impact. How important is that for you?
Very important. I think it's important to everybody because he needs something with all these injuries. Of course, I'm with like the last 2 speakers that, you know, pretty much Ange in. I think he's just been completely decimated because of the injuries, and that's affected his the way his team is played, and that's the reason we got the results. I think if we didn't have all these injuries, I think we would be in a decent place in the league. We'll probably be sitting 8th or 7th at least. Probably nothing crazy. Probably people still be mad about that, but to be honest with you, I think that's kind of the error we at because of the way our play style is. But the way we've been just losing games, but him not having the defensive players that are usually our starters is the reason I think we're sitting more 12th or 11th right now in the league. I think we're going to need a winger, and we're going to need, a left back or maybe a midfield. It's one of those 3 positions. I don't know about a striker because of Richarlison coming back. I don't think that we may have to wait for summer for something like that. But if we do, I'm not going to be upset about it but that does question if Richarlison is going to be here for the foreseeable future. Yeah, so I think a wing, but it has to be a dynamic. It has to be a certain type of winger. I don't want no more of the Johnsons. I don't want nobody who's just plays in the system and he, you know, stays very good position, but he doesn't attack the opposition at all with his feet with the ball. We need somebody who's very good on the ball, who can attack and make defenders worry. Right now we have even Son. He's not even like that no more. Maybe Odebear is probably like that. Maybe Moore could probably be that. But those two players, of course, are not in the team at the moment because I think both of them are still injured, and Odebear may be out for I think a little bit even longer. So, but we need players a little bit more dynamic. And Johnson, yeah, he's just, he's good at positions. If you see how he got his goals, he's very good at following the play and getting to the back post and scoring goals that way. But I only seen him score maybe a handful of dynamic type of goals that you'll want to see from a winger of Premier League quality who's trying to make a top 4 side. So,
Wes, talk me through these 12:30 for us kickoff times for you guys. It's like super early. Do you stay up all night or do you get up early? What's your routine?
It's not too bad. Sometimes like I think the earliest game was that last game. It was like 8, I had to wake up at 7 because it started at 7:30 a.m.
Oh, it's only 5 hours different.
Yeah, we're about you guys are only about like 5 hours ahead. So it's probably like a 12:30 game for you guys.
You get down to the pubs for it, or do you have a pub nearby, or do you go and watch it at the pub at 7:30 in the morning? Or?
We have a Spurs Atlanta. We do have a Spurs Atlanta club, fan club here in Atlanta. I do only go down. I went down the last time I went down there was for the I think it was the League Cup final back in 2020 when we fired Jose Mourinho.
Oh right, yeah.
Horribly. Everybody in the pub was so freaking upset about that because we could have won. I think we could have got something out of that game if we had Mourinho. But yeah, a lot of people.
Do you feel that we could have? Do you think stick with Mourinho would have got something? Oh, okay.
Yeah. Like we didn't really have major injuries even then. I think we were missing a couple players, but it wasn't nothing too crazy. It was enough to still in a cup game, go one off, a team and possibly get something out of it. But we just didn't have the coach. He was what's his name was completely out of his depth coaching.
Mason.
Yeah, Mason. Like at least at that time, he's probably better now, of course, because of the years of experience he's been getting at the team. But at that point in time, no, like he had no business even doing that. I'm still mad at Levy about that. That's I'm sure even Levy's like, okay, he could at least got that monkey off his back. I don't understand why. But, it all comes down to the contract situation. I think if he won them something, he would have got more money. It was, it's one of those, it's one of those situations with Levy where he's worried about what the expenses are instead of getting something off his back. Because if we won a cup then, I think fans would have been a little bit off his back and he would have been able to kind of just do what he want to do because, hey, I won you a cup so we can focus on all this other stuff he wants to do. But now he's in a situation where now we're about 18, 17 years drought. And it's kind of his fault again. So, but that's a whole nother situation.
Wes, you mentioned about Richarlison. Would you sell him in the summer?
If what you were saying previously to last speaker, if we were to get a strike with this window, what's the point of him being here? He's trying to get back into the Brazil national team side at some point. I would hope that's his dream. I think even though he's kind of got it out of that team now, he's been on and off now a lot. I still think he should, at least try to get back into that team. So he'll want to probably play a lot more games, and him being the third choice is not going to work, especially with his contract as well. We were paying him a good amount of money, and we did pay a lot of money to sign him. I don't want another $50 million player just sitting on our bench, really. Even though that's technically what you need for us to be a top 4 side, is to have those kind of players just on our bench, as depth, like all these other top teams are doing. But I think in his situation, he'll want to at least play a lot more of at least cup games if he's going to be the second choice under Solanke. But if you get another striker in who's more ready to play now, my mentality would be, why am I here if I was in his situation? But I still don't think we're going to get a striker. I think we're going after a winger and a left back, maybe a midfielder.
What do you think about Romero? Do you think his heart's not in it anymore? Do you think he's still up for the fight, or do you think he's just carrying an injury and he's ready to come back for Spurs? And what do you make of him?
Yeah, last time he played a couple games for us, I was real worried about him because he looked not in it. He did not have no good games at all. It looks like he was more bum rushing and causing fouls that was unnecessary, getting carded every so often, not being smart. A lot of times, if you see when he plays for Argentina, he's very smart when he does those kind of plays. He does it for a conviction and a reason. But these last couple games, it's almost like he don't care, and I don't like that. And it seems like in
What do you think that might be?
The narrative comes in like, oh, you're just trying to play for your national. I don't know. I really don't know. But he's gonna have to get out of his head, or we're gonna have to go. Because I don't have time. I don't have time for that. I know other fans don't have time for that. Yeah. If you just want to play for, it's all great and well that you play great for the Argentina national team. You won cups for them and everything so often. But when you're playing for your club, you need to be played with a conviction and, smart, because we can't have you be out games and you're an important player in that back line. Van de Ven, of course, I think been the best center back this season when he has played. And I think right now we would say Van de Ven is probably a little bit better than Romero because he fits the system a little bit more because him being a little bit more quicker. But sometimes you do need like a ball stopper type of center back to add with the quick center back to level that out. So I think both of them as a dynamic works. And I think that just one of the games they did play just wasn't good games from probably individual mistakes and so on and so forth. But Romero, I'm hoping he can get his head back together when he comes back, and hopefully he can finish out strong. But earlier in the season, though, it looked like his head was out of it. A lot of people noticed it as well.
Wes, which players have really surprised you this season from the very start of the season to now?
That would be Gray. That'd be Archie Gray. Archie Gray, Spence, Bergval, like the young cats that we just got. Those, yeah, especially Spence, because I think Ange finally had to speak on him finally about him sitting and being in and out of the team since he's been at Spurs, and to see him just come in and he's more calm. He's not frustrated, not playing. He just came in. He knew his time was going to come sooner or later. Boom, was able to come and do a job, and now he's seen as possibly being a starting right back for us once we get our team back over Porro, who Porro just last game had a very decent game last game. But even he's defensively has been, shaky. Because to be honest with you, what I would do, I would make Porro a right winger. I replace him with Johnson.
Yeah,
because I think his dynamic
crosses are great.
Yeah, crossing.
Yeah.
And I think also I do want to say I think what we're missing, we get the crosses from the right side, but we don't get it from the left side. We got a lot of cut-in players on the left side. And we need that balance on both sides for Solanke to get more service. And right now, he only gets service from the right side. And I think a lot of opposition know that because for some reason, Son can't cross with his left, or nor does he really choose to. He kind of just cuts in every single time, or he just passes back to the left back. And then I think we have two left backs. We really only got one left back, which is the reason we need to get one this January transfer window, who's really more of a he's like an inverted, he plays in that inverted type of position, so he's not in the position to cross the ball. And when he when Udoji does do crosses, it's kind of, it's not, he's not really a crosser type
it's
of.
It's not the same standard as the other side, is it? No.
Yeah. So I would love for us to get a left back that can cross on that side, including Pearl. I haven't seen Spence cross really. He hasn't been able to cross. I haven't seen him do it too many times. He's really he's very good at is clearly his long range passing, straight diagonal type passing, because he got 2 assists in his first 2 games off of doing those kind of passes. So he's good at passing those kind of passes. I haven't seen him do a cross yet, but I have a feeling that his will at least be okay. It's probably not going to be nothing crazy. It's not going to be as good as Poro's. But I think we do need a left back on that other side just to give him more service to Solanke, more goal scoring opportunities for Kulusevski and them to head the ball or get a volley shot or something like that. But we're only getting it from the right side of the field. Yeah, we're going to need somebody who can cross.
With that in mind, say when we hobble our way over to get to summer and take it as it is now, is there players and how many and which ones that you'd like to see us get rid of in the summer?
That's interesting. You
bearing in mind that obviously it is hopefully to improve, not just
yeah. It's probably gonna have to be. I say Basuma. Okay. Maybe Richarlison if he doesn't, or if he sees that he's not going to be that important to the team anymore. I can't really see none of our wingers at the moment being out, including Son. I think Son is. I hope we keep Son, but Son, I do agree with everybody else that the writing is starting to get on the wall, guys. He's 32. He's not the dynamic player. He can barely play really 30 minutes. And you can say that's because of the running games he's had to play recently. But I think
you don't need to agree with him, Wes. You don't need to agree.
Yes, I do. Yeah, I've seen it too. I just haven't wanted to say it at all. He's my favorite player by far.
Well, don't say it then.
It is what it is. He's 32 and he can't last. You know, he doesn't move with that. You know, the way
I keep saying we've seen this before with Sonny, and Salah's 32, isn't he? But we've seen this before with Sonny. He goes up and down, and hopefully see an upturn.
But we can't deal with inconsistent up and downs. Like, no, we need somebody who's right now wanting to put in the goals and
you think moving, like we said before, more of an impact sub, or do you think just get rid of him?
Yeah, he's an impact sub. I think, that's why I said we should still keep him. And plus, if he wants to still be on the tour, or if he wants to go and be at a big club and go, win some trophies for fun, which he deserves. If we can't get him any silverware, hopefully we can do that this year in some form.
And what would be the reasons for Bissouma? What's the reasons for Bissouma in the summer?
Bissouma, I just don't think he's good enough. I think his head is not always in. I think we've all complained about Bissouma here and there. Sarr got more of the upside. And plus, I think Bissouma's like going to 28 now. So he's supposed to be in the prime of his career. And he's not really playing up to snuff sometimes. And sometimes it's a little more basic. You'd think if he was playing like this and he was 21, we'd be like, okay, he got potential. Right now, he's giving bang average. He'll be like, if we were to keep him, if we were to, keep these players that are like right now our starters and put them on our bench, I'd be fine. And we're just able to just replace them and have them as bench depth. Yeah, we have a stacked team then because, he can at least do a job for us here and there. But I think as one of our main players playing, no. Bissouma doesn't give me that edge that we need in that central midfield. We had too many times in the midfield this season where we'll get overrun and it would look like they're not even playing in those positions at all. Like we don't even have players there. So and I don't like that. And a lot of times it would be Bissouma. A lot of times Sarr is young. He can Sarr is young. But even Sarr came more into form these recent past games. Bergvall to me is showing a little bit more tenacity than Bissouma. Yeah. So and we got a lot of young players too that we haven't even played that in that position. Like Gray hasn't even played in his natural position yet. But I think even he would do way more of a better job, than what Bissouma's giving. So I think he's just one of those odd men out. I'm not saying he's a horrible player or anything, but I think what the level the level he's at right now that we're seeing from him at his age, where he's supposed to be in the prime, supposed to know what he's supposed to do and everything. No.
Wes, you're always such a great guest, but before you do go, I want you to talk through your name on the screen. Wes the King.
Oh, why I have that name? It's funny. I always on my social medias, I don't know. I just came up with it. Used to be King West or something like that. I don't know. I just I always my mom always said that I should always think of myself highly confidence wise because I always didn't have the confidence. I still sometimes don't. It's something I'm still working on, but just to think more highly of myself, more confident. So
you talk very well, Wes. You should do. You talk very well.
I'm trying to be a journalist. I'm trying to be like Chris. I'm in school right now for journalism for sports. Right now I want to do play-by-play commentary for sports, either soccer or basketball, any one of those sports.
Mate, so best of luck with all that.
Yeah, thank you.
I've got to say, Wes, the amount of comments and the amount of emails that I've received this week saying that you were a lot of people's favourite guest last show. So thank you so much for your input.
Oh, really? Oh, I didn't even know that. Oh, dang, that's cool. That's cool.
You're the king, aren't you? You're the king. So.
Yeah. I told you this is my first time on your show. I've been looking at Chris for a while. I've been trying to get on, and I was like, oh, I finally got the email thing to start getting on. I was like, okay, cool. I can start getting on and talk to Chris because I have not been able to talk to you at all. I was like, man. Because I don't get my family's not all soccer fans. I'm like the only one. So this is like one thing I've loved about since I became a fan of Spurs is that the dynamics with the fans are very integral, heartwarming. I'm able to just we're able all to just discuss about our team losing all the time, and we're all able to laugh about it and be like, hey, because we're fans. So I love that. But yeah, the Western King is more for like confidence, and then plus it kind of hits. Everybody just knows it, so I just went with it.
Well, Wes, thank you so much, and we'll look to get you on the Spurs Chat podcast very, very soon.
Yep. Y'all have a good one. Hopefully, I'm going either a draw or a 2-1 win for us against Liverpool. Don't know how we're going to do that, but hey, we can dream. And I know one thing about Ange, he's going to play his way. So,
Wade, thank you so much. We'll speak soon.
Yep,
bro.
you guys be safe.
And finally, we're going to go to Sai.
Hello.
Sai, good evening. How are you?
Oh, very good. I just want to say hello to James first, who's a fellow vocalist. He's a slightly different genre to me because I'm a punk singer. But so if you can do some Sex Pistols based songs about Spurs, I'd love it. If you
I'll do some. Yeah, I love Sex Pistols, man. Great band.
Well, there you go, mate. So I'll come down and see you next time, and I'll come and put my ugly mug in front of you. I am indeed with a covers band, and we do some originals as well. So have a bit of fun with it.
Which bands do you do?
Well, my band's Blackout. So the ones we cover are the Clash, Sex Pistols, Dead Kennedys, all of the old. Oh, well, you can see I'm of a certain vintage, so I even remember some of it in the first place. So only
that is the quickest plug I've ever known on this show.
Bless you. You can find us on Facebook at Blackout Band UK. There you go.
Having it written across here.
Yeah.
Well, James, we might as well ask you what players do you want to hear James sing about next?
Well, the one for me, I'll probably like a bit of Don Solanke to the Sex Pistols. So let's see if we can get something going on that.
Yeah, send some stuff to me, mate. We'll get some going.
We do that. Bless you. Now, I wanted to talk about a couple of things because I was quite interested in listening to Steve earlier on because he's of a certain vintage like my good self, and I think this manager thing and where we are at the moment, it kind of frustrates me a bit that the fans get a little bit agitated with it because, you know, if you go back over our history from 1898 to 1974, we had 14 managers in 76 years. And since then, we've had 34 in 50 years. And of those, I'm just going to read out a couple of names for you, which will kind of sum up where I am with it. Peter Shreves, Jerry Francis, Christian Gross, George Graham, Jack Santini, Juan Ramos, Andre Villas-Boas to a degree, Jose Mourinho, Nuno Espirito Santo, and Antonio Conte, Christian Stellini. And all I'm going to say to them is the football was absolutely dreadful. And there was no redeeming qualities about Spurs like there is today with what Angie's doing for us. And the nuance of people just ignoring what we're up against, you know, injury-wise, it's quite ridiculous to me. But again, that's just my opinion.
Why do you think they are like that? Do you think it's because of the drought for so long? Do you think that's
of course it is. Yeah. No, without a doubt about it. But I think I said to Chris when I messaged him about coming on, in the Levy era, we tend to blame him for everything that's bad and gloss over the good stuff he's done for the club. But as far as I can remember, he didn't play in any of the 5 finals we've lost during his tenure. Now, if we'd won those 5 finals, what would the view be of Levy and the club on that basis? He didn't actually play, did he? He wasn't on the pitch. You could say ultimately he's responsible for who was on the pitch, but at the end of the day, he wasn't out there. And that comes down to players and managers, you know, and I just think that we can't keep chopping and changing if you want to have success. And, you know, I'm just going to give you some more stats. So if you look at where we are at the moment, let's assume that Van der Ven and Romero are our favoured centre-halves, okay? Well, since Ange's been in charge, they've played 56% of the games we've played. Just about half as a pair. Then compare that to Gabriel and Saliba, who've played in the same period 75% of Arsenal's games. Then chuck into that Konate and Virgil, who played 91% of Liverpool's games. We have no stability. Now, you can argue why is Van der Ven injured? Why does he keep getting injured? Well, we knew he had an injury problem when we took him on. So maybe we're just not managing the best. But that comes down to the sports science class. And then if you go back to those percentages I was talking about, the win rate with Romero and Van der Ven is 56%. And we've only lost 11 games with them together. And of those 11 games, 2 are against Arsenal, 3 are against Chelsea, where if we put 47 players on the pitch, we don't beat Chelsea, do we? Let's be honest. And then you've got Manchester City, Newcastle and Liverpool. That's 8 of the 11 we've lost to the alleged big teams. So to me, it's just that lack of stability. And if you put the percentages, so let's just say we say that Van der Ven and Romero play the same percentage as Gabriel, well, we win 9 more games and get 27 more points. Or if you do it to the same ratio, 91% of the games as Virgil and Canate, just using the 56% win ratio, we win 16 more games or 48 points. That is Spurs' problem, is we just don't have that stability to build from, in my opinion.
I agree with you, side, to be honest. I do. I know. I don't understand how we're sort of glossing over that fact. But what about with these injuries? What do you think is going wrong, and how do we improve that going forward? Because it is quite bad what happened, and it's not just Van der Ven. It's what's happening. Do you think? I mean,
and also, side, and can I add to that? Because what do you make of a lot of the fans blaming a lot of these injuries with the way that Ange Postecoglou is training these players so hard and the way that they're fitting into this system?
Well, there's 2 parts to it. First of all, I think I think it's been done, but the sports science team, as much as any other area of responsibility of the club, have to be held to account, don't they? Because they're either bringing the players back too soon, or they're not. The rehabs aren't being done properly, and therefore they're breaking down again when they come back in. And if you take Romero for example, or take Richarlison even. So what they were originally injured for, which was a knee and an ankle in Richarlison's case. Then when he come back, he pulls a hamstring. Well, that's nothing to do with the original injury, is it? That's just pure bad luck. Odegaard, in my opinion, complete bad luck. Going back to the other point, James, that you said there about, how much is Ange to blame for this, or the training, it just has to be looked at. Now, if you want, and then there's one other factor I should have added to this, is that, in my opinion, we went into the season, as Chris often says, we went into the season 2 players light. We should have had another, I don't know, Hincapie, take who you want as a left centre back cover, or to cover for Van der Ven, because we know he's not going to play. And just again to jump back to the statistics, since Ange has been in charge, Van der Ven's only played 38 games. Ange has been in charge for 70. That's just above 50%. So he's not going to play. So why do you not get the cover for him? Destiny was an accident waiting to happen with the amount that he's playing. Now, for whatever reason, Ange hasn't trusted Spence, and I've heard lots of people say today on various channels that he's had to play players because he's had no other choices. Well, they've stood up. So that's for the benefit of the club going forward. But if you can't rotate Van der Ven, as we should have done, and you can't rotate Romero because Van der Ven's out and then Romero's playing when we haven't got a left-sided player to cover for Van der Ven, or Ben Davies, we all have our views on him. He's not really a like-for-like cover for Van der Ven. But you're going to run into these problems if your squad is not strong enough. And that's where I think it is. The forward injuries are slightly different to me. But if you go through the midfielders, who probably outside of the fullbacks do the most work in the team, we haven't had any injuries there, have we? So is the training to blame for it when we've got players like that who don't get injured? And then you could look at Porro himself and Udogie up until the point that he got injured. They played as, were they the top three within the top 4 players for minutes played this season? And they hadn't broken down. So can you really look at the training and say that's to do with it? If you've got, I don't know, let's say 3/4 of the squad coping with the training and playing regime. But I do think that the sports science department have got something to answer for in this.
I think there's less injuries in midfield, because we're rotating more in midfield, we're getting less injuries there. So maybe that's right. That's the answer. We need that strength in depth.
We do. And even going to the midfield, in an ideal world, and bearing in mind we've seen how he's played, if all things being equal, let's just say we'd gone mad in the summer and we get a left back, and we've got a left back and Destiny cover. We've got Porro and Spence to cover on the right. We can go ahead with that. Archie Gray might have been playing the defensive as a defensive midfielder we're all looking for, or the kind of heartbeat of the team. Look, the lad's good enough, isn't he? Crikey, he's good enough. Look what he's doing at centre back. That's not his position. So, and I do agree with Ange. I don't agree with Ange on everything, but I do agree with him that for the long term of his Spurs career, this stint he's playing at centre back will just make him an even better player than he probably could have been if he didn't play there. So, through adversity comes positives.
So, last question for you. You seem to be very on board with Ange Postecoglou. So what do you say to all of those doubters? Because it's fair to say there are a lot.
There are a lot. All I would say is that there's 2 things that need to happen. He needs his players back, and he needs some support from Mr. Levy to strengthen the areas that we didn't deal with in the summer. And that is a left back and a left centre back for me. Then once you do that, and let's just say we get however many centre backs back, well, then you've got Archie Gray to throw into the midfield mix. The forwards, if we can get a utility forward, that would help. And then for me, as we all know, Werner doesn't have a long-term future, does he? So even if you bring someone in, you're not going to take up a squad place in the long term because Werner won't be there.
Yeah. So you've been a great guest.
Oh, bless you. Mikey Moore, let the lad play. Let that lad play.
Yeah.
In rotation. But yeah, there you go.
So we'll have to get you on the Spurs Chat podcast very soon if you're up for it.
Come on, Chris. Very kind, mate. Yeah, of course I would. Yeah, and I just like to go back and say to the Spurs fans, of everybody out there, look, just enjoy the football that you can enjoy, because outside of Crystal Palace and Ipswich and maybe Coventry Way, we've not been that bad this season. And unlike me, you're probably not scarred by some of the managers that I mentioned earlier in the piece, where the football was quite dreadful. So there we go.
James sings about Christian Gross, so I don't know what's wrong with him.
He's got a record now, and he's an Ange, apparently.
Well, there you go. Isn't life strange?
Yeah, indeed. So I thank you so much, and we look forward to having you on the channel again very soon.
Yeah, it'd be a pleasure to come back on, and thanks, guys, and keep up the great work.
Thank you very much. Cheers. We're now going to go to Gareth. Matt, I can see you, but I don't think your camera's on at the minute, so we'll get you on straight after Gareth, if that's okay. Gareth, how are you?
All good, Chris. How are you? All good, James.
You're right.
Fresh fish from my trip to London on Wednesday for the game. So just back at work today. So Christmas is over. And unfortunately, it wasn't a good Christmas for Spurs fans. But look, I'm confident enough that the second half of the season will go much better than the first half. But I suppose I can't go any worse, can it? Or we're going to be in serious trouble. But tell you what, Chris, some really good guests on. Really enjoyed listening to them. Thought Sai was excellent there as well. And just before you ask me any questions, just what he said there. Obviously, me being a coach as well. I think if you look at a lot of the injuries that we've had, it's all reoccurrences of injuries. It's all the same players that's coming back, getting injured again. So I'm not sure that's down to the manager. I mean, at the end of the day, Ange makes the final decision, but he will only play a player that's returning if it's been passed by the medical department. So he's been told such and such player is ready to come back. Might be a phased return, 60 minutes here, 70 minutes here, but they're actually breaking down in the first half when they're back. So that is down to the medical team, surely. And if you look at how people saying about how we train, look at Jurgen Klopp's teams. They ran more than anyone. They had injuries as well, but they did have a season where everything hit them at once that year after they won the league. Do you remember they had to play 2 midfielders at centre half because they had no centre halves? The goalkeeper was injured. A bit like us, we're just having one of those seasons. And if you think back to the year COVID stopped the league, we had a very similar season where it was all our forwards injured. Kane was injured, Son was injured, I think Dele Alli was injured, and COVID actually came at a good time because we were able to get players back. So
I said this the other day, Gareth. Yeah, Mourinho had a lot of injuries. Yeah,
well, Jose Mourinho's style of play was totally different to Ange's, and there was less running involved. So it just can be one of those seasons where you just get a lot of bad luck and it can go against you. And I think having so many players in the one position injured as well has been a real, killer. But I think the way the Premier League's going, Cup games, Champions League's been extended, Europa League's been extended. You're seeing lots more teams get injuries as well. You're now seeing Arsenal are starting to lose players left, right, and centre. All of a sudden now they're a bit short on the attack where we're short in the defence. And if you look at the teams that are at the top, Liverpool, yes, they've had a few injuries, but they had a fully fit team out against Man United yesterday, top of the league. Nottingham Forest, they're 2-0 up here, about to go joint second. Fully fit team every week. So it's just one of those, like, you can get those seasons where things go for you and they go against you, and they've just gone against us so bad this year.
Gareth, you mentioned at the start about the coaching. You do coaching yourself. So from a coaching perspective, is there anybody in the team that you think is not getting the praise that they actually deserve, and you see it from a different perspective as other people are given at the minute? So is there any players you could pick from that? Like people like, for me, I think Solanke and his pressing, like, is not being picked up enough. Is there anything that you see that's not being praised enough from the team, or vice versa? Do you see that too much praise is being?
Well, I'm like, me and my dad sort of have different opinions on Solanke. He likes him, but he's not sure he's the answer because he's obsessed with a striker who scored 25, 30 goals. I still think he's not that type of player. He necessarily, I can't think of too many bad games he's had. He might not have scored. I remember him saying to me, we beat Southampton 5-0 and your striker doesn't score. That's criminal for me. And I says, but do you know how much involved, all the pressing that he's doing, they manufacture these chances. His actual hold-up play has really impressed me. His passing and linking up really impressed me. He doesn't stop running. And I thought on Saturday against Newcastle, especially at times when in the first half, that sort of second half of the first half where Newcastle were kind of dominating, every time the ball went to Slinky, it stuck and he got us out and he played. Yeah. And I thought second half he was really unlucky not to, two cracking headers. He made the most out of sort of half crosses and he turned them into half chances. And on an already one of those can go on, but I mean, I thought he took his goal really, really well, and I think he is getting.
Work rate's so important, isn't it? That work rate is so important.
Well, that's it. Then I think what you mentioned there, another player that's really impressed me, and he's probably come under fire a little bit, is Archie Gray, because he's playing in a team that's conceding a lot of goals. But I think out of position, he's done really, really well. And if he actually, I don't know whether it's a compliment to Archie Gray or it's a real concern and comment for Dragusin, but Gravenberch made a comment that they targeted Spurs' right side, and I'm thinking, well, if I'm a centre half and they're coming down my side over going down the other side where there's a stand-in centre back playing midfield, that's a really good compliment for Archie Gray, but it's a really, really concerning comment for Dragusin. And I think he spoke about recruitment there, and Dragusin is a really strange one because I have no doubt there's probably a player in there, but he just does not suit this style of play. See, when he's playing for Romania, he looks like a totally different player because Romania don't have as much of the ball, aren't asked to play it from the back, and he's brilliant at heading the ball out and clearances. I think Dragusin would be an excellent signing for Everton, for a Sean Dyche team. I think it would really suit them. I just don't think he suits this Spurs style. So I'm a bit confused as we're hearing about all these metrics and the algorithms that they're doing to sign players, the data. I'm surprised how Dragusin fits this model.
Gareth, that's exactly what I'd like you to talk about as a football coach, about the data, because Johan Langer is very much about the data. Spurs are doing things very, very differently, targeting players with the data. How do you feel about that?
Well, it's kind of the modern day way of recruiting players. Brentford and Brighton were the two to sort of kick this off, and they've had so much success with signing players. You've seen with Mbeumo and Vissa, for example, Ivan Toney. Obviously, Tony's moved on, but that front three for Brighton cost next to nothing, and they were so successful for them. You look at the players that Brighton have sold; they bought them for next to nothing. The likes of Caicedo. There's a new fella, or the Basuma was another one. Matoma's come on. Evan Ferguson's come from where I am in Ireland. So they've been really good at picking and identifying players. And if you look at Brighton, when players move on, there's never a panic. They're able to bring in a very similar, almost like there's a fella played for Brighton the weekend called Baliba, very, very similar to Caicedo. And it's almost as if Caicedo moves on, Baliba comes in, and there's no real difference in Brighton. So they're really good at identifying what they want. And I think Spurs, for so many years, were going down the route of the eye test. And there obviously still is the eye test they pass, but I think a lot of the players they identify before they maybe go and watch them. There is that sort of, are they going to fit our style of play? And you might, and not just this, one of the other things that is really important, and I do think this is something that's changed over the last couple of seasons, is the character of the player. Too many players have come to Spurs, the likes of Paulinho and the likes of Soldado, and I don't think they ever suited the culture here. Players like that, maybe not necessarily bad footballers. They've had success at our clubs, but kind of the right character. It's just they're going to fit the group. And I think that's something that Ian speaks about quite a lot. They have to be the right character to come in here. And, people say about getting into the Champions League, they come and say you can attract different players. Well, Ian says, well, if they're not interested in playing for Spurs, if they're just interested in playing for a Champions League club, then not for us. And that's 100%, because come here and be part of something, get us into the Champions League, earn your right to play in the Champions League. So I think that's something that the club has done quite well. I do think there has to be, we spoke about it, Chris, a few times, there does need to be more experienced players coming in. They have identified good young players. I think Archie Gray is going to be a great player for us. I think Bergville, from what I've seen, is going to be a great player for us. I do think Johnson's still improving. I know the jury's out a wee bit on him, but he has scored 11 goals this season. I don't think he's ever that type of player that's going to, go past 4 or 5 players and bit one in from 30 yards. He's just not that type of player. Most of his goals are kind of in the penalty area. And if you look at Tom and Solanke, that are leading the charts for goals. So Johnson's a very important player for us. Kulusevski has been a great signing. So there's been so many good young signings, but I think now we need to be bringing in players at 24, 25, 26 that's ready to make an impact now. And also a wee bit of leadership. I think at sometimes there's a lack of leadership on the pitch, and we know Son's not really that. He's a bit like a Harry Kane. He's a lead by example player. But you seen Van Dijk yesterday after the first goal goes on for Man United. He pulls all Liverpool players together. He gets the defence in order. And you just don't see that happening in Spurs. And look, you're not going to find too many Van Dijks around. But, if you have someone like that in your team, for me, Romero needs to be that player for Spurs. He's kind of shaded that a lot. I think he's really but that's it. If you look at some of the goals we considered earlier in the season, Romero was kind of responsible for them.
What would you like to see from you mentioned that characters and stuff? And do you think what's the one thing that's really missing, and what sort of player would you like to see added to this? So is it leadership? Is it character? Is it winners now? What would you like to see? And is there a player you've got in mind that would be perfect?
Well, James, I think we've had this discussion before about signing players with experience of winning. But I'm kind of like, for example, I'll give you an example. These are English football fans. You support the national team. There's plenty of players on that England team that have won trophies at their clubs. But they haven't won anything together as a team. So when they come to the semi-finals and the finals, there's that pressure on them. There's that lack of experience of getting over the line. So if a player's won league titles elsewhere, I don't necessarily think that's going to get us over the line. I think as a team, we need to get over a hurdle together. And then we get that experience coming on, because it seems to be whenever players put on that Spurs top, it just weighs them down. When it comes to getting over the big line in moments, you think about that Man United game in the cup game to be cruising to 3-0 up. And, I don't think any other team could have done what we did that night. For whatever reason, things just seem to go rapidly wrong in big moments. And only for that, maybe Son corner, that's fortunate, to be honest. That gets us out of trouble. But I do think it's, we're running out of opportunities now to win something. I know it's been a really difficult run to the semi-final. I think if we won this cup, it would be, as good as winning any trophy because of the teams we've played. It's not like we got the last final, we beat Brentford and we beat Stoke, who were championship teams at the time. So this is, you're going to have to beat Man City, you're going to have to beat Man United, you're going to have to beat Liverpool over 2 games, and then possibly Arsenal or Newcastle in the final. So you're not getting an easy run. I think if Spurs were somehow able to win this competition, that's everything that you need to kick you on, because you've beat every big team other than Chelsea in this competition.
Gareth, 2 very final questions for you. One, Muani of PSG, would he fit in well at Spurs? And do you think it's going to happen? And the last one is, obviously, you're coming over from Ireland on Wednesday to come and see the Spurs-Liverpool game. You must be confident that you're going to be seeing a good performance and a good result.
I'll answer the Muani question first, because it's an easier answer. Chris, thanks for putting me on the spot.
I bet it is.
Chris, look, nothing against the player. I actually, Frankfurt, he set the world alight, and he went to PSG for a big fee, roughly, I think it was around 100 million euros or slightly less than that. So a massive fee based on his Frankfurt days. For whatever reason, it just hasn't worked out. But I'm very wary, and it's not just because of Timo Werner. I'm very wary about clubs who are trying to shift a player on loan. PSG are struggling themselves in the Champions League. They're not a cert to go through in this next round. They've 2 massive games to go, and they're prepared to let him go, just, and somebody covers his wages with a small loan fee. That scares me, and we've been down that route before. I think Man United have done it recently as well, and funny enough, Man United and Spurs seem to be the 2 teams most interested. But we've seen United do it with Amrabat, didn't work out. We've seen United do it with Reguilon at Spurs, didn't really work out. And they've been down that route before, and we've done it with Werner, and I can't think of too many loan signings other than Kulusevski that's worked out for us. I'd probably have to go back to Mido. He's the last kind of player I remember coming on loan, and I wanted him to stay. I think Kulusevski recently, so many of these loan deals, Chris, I think it's just a waste of time. And I know people will point out, it's a no risk signing, but I'm not interested in that. Get someone that's going to come on, that's going to be here for the future. I don't mean just sign a kid, but someone that you see as a long-term target. I don't think Muani is it. I think Muani would be signed as an emergency option, and I just don't think that I would rather, as crazy as it sounds, I would rather keep our powder dry. If we can't sign somebody who we really want now, I would rather wait until the summer and go out and spend money on a striker. They give Solanke help, because I think it's just more problems down the line. Because for me, I think PSG are going to probably push to get an obligation to buy this player as well. I don't think they're going to let him go on just an option. I would imagine they'll want some sort of fee or, some sort of guarantee they're going to get something in return, because where's the value in letting this player go? Unless it's just fallen off a cliff and his confidence is so shot, then it's going to take time for him to get up to speed here. Before you know it, the season's over. And to be honest, Chris, I know you're going to all the league games, but for me, with this result tonight and recent results, I think our league season's as good as over. Realistically, it's about trying to get enough points now to make sure we're not in a relegation battle. I counted up the points before we come on there. We're 16 points behind Nottingham Forest now. I think we're 11 behind Newcastle in 5th. We're 12 behind Chelsea in 4th. That's just a massive gap now, I think, for us to get on the. I don't think we're going to get in the Champions League. And then if you look down, and I think we're 9 points behind Villa in 8th. So even the 8th place, that seems like a huge gap now. There is possibility for him on a massive run, but I think the teams that are sitting in 3rd and 4th, we would need them to completely fall off a cliff and us to have top form. I just think they've got too many points in hand now. So our best route into Europe, Chris, is going to be 3 cups.
Well, Nicholas in the comments, thank you, Nicholas, for your comments, has just confirmed that AC Milan have just won the Super Cup and Emerson Royale has just lifted a trophy. And from what you're just saying about Nottingham Forest, it looks like Nuno Espirito Santo is in the title race. It's just unbelievable.
I told you there's something about when that Spurs top gets put on, they just all seem they struggle.
It's like we give everyone luck when they leave.
I know.
With that girlfriend that people date before someone marries someone, there you go.
I'm not even going to go there.
I'll answer your question about Liverpool.
Yeah, last question. You must be confident coming over from Ireland to see the Liverpool game. How do you think it's going to go?
Well, look, first of all, I hope I get over it because the snow here is quite heavy. But I'm not flying till Wednesday morning, so there is more ice and frost scheduled. And I was looking, London's going to be quite cold Wednesday night. I think it's going to be around freezing point during the game, sort of 0 or 1 degree. So if anyone going to the game, make sure they wrap up. It's going to be cold. But Chris, you know me, I'll go over it and believe we can win because you know what? If you go for thinking you're beat, then you've got no chance. If there's anyone out there that generally doesn't believe we can win, you know, I can understand that point. But if you watch Liverpool on Sunday there against a really, really poor Man United team, United give them a scare of a lifetime. So, you know, there is a chance that Liverpool might think, well, we put 6 past this crowd the last time they played. They might take us easy. They might rest a few players.
But by the way Liverpool played against Manchester United, do you feel like that is going to be worse for us? Because Slot is going to have a right go at those players and say, we are not playing like that again.
Well, Chris, do you know what? I thought they looked a bit tired. Liverpool haven't rotated their team that much. They've kind of went strong in the Champions League. The only time they've rotated their team has been the League Cup. They've kind of went with their strongest team every Premier League game, every Champions League game. There's a lot of issues around contracts at the moment. I kind of do feel that when you've got 3 players, you know, running their contracts down, at some point it just becomes too much for a squad to handle. And it did look on Sunday. I know it's only 1 game, but you know, Trent had a really, really poor game. Salah, I know he scored a penalty, but he was off his game. And it just seemed to really affect the whole group. And Van Dijk was getting agitated with him. So if there's ever a good time to play Liverpool, it's probably now, I think. You know, there is so much uncertainty around that squad of players. I do think because they're in a good position in the league, they will rotate 3 or 4 players. It'll still be a strong Liverpool team. But I do expect them. I don't think Van Dijk will play because they're so short at the back. With Gomez injured, Kanate's just come back. I'd imagine they could rest Van Dijk because they would want to lose him and possibly risk losing the Premier League. So I do think it won't be as strong as the Liverpool team that we played, but it's obviously going to be a huge test, and we're obviously light in numbers ourselves. But Chris, anything can happen. It's a cup game. We've played really well in the cup this season for whatever reason. I don't think we've performed in Europe. I don't think we've performed in certain league games, but I think the game against Man City, we were excellent, and the game for 60 minutes against Man United, we were excellent. So no reason to think we can't go and get a result here on Wednesday. And look, as Man United showed you on Sunday, Liverpool gave you chances as well. I know we give you chances, but like we scored 3 goals against them as well. So Liverpool are quite open at times. I do kind of think that this is a learning curve for Ange. If Ange goes out and plays the exact same way, I think there's going to be a lot of critics. And for me, as one of his biggest supporters, Man United respected Liverpool. They sat off them, got through the first 15 or 20 minutes, and then the gap started to open up. Let's keep it tight in the first 10 or 15 minutes. Or if we score an early goal, just lock up like we did. Like I was saying after we scored against Newcastle, go and just get through the next 5 minutes now without conceding a goal, and we've won 2 minutes, ball in the back on net. So this team has a real problem when they score a goal of you know, managing the next few minutes. And that's something that's going to be crucial against Liverpool. If we can go out, keep it tight, respect them, we will get a lot of chances in the counter-attack because Man United got so much more, and Spurs have a lot more quality and their attacking area of the pitch than Man United do.
Gareth, thank you so much. You're always such a great guest, and I will see you for a beer on Wednesday evening.
Great to see you, Gareth.
James, I'll see you on Wednesday as well.
Good man. See you later, mate.
Come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you
Spurs, indeed. Cheers, Gareth. See you Wednesday. And our last guest of the evening, and I know, Matt, I hope you haven't been waiting there for that amount of time because I didn't see your face in the
That's all right.
in the green room there. But how are you?
That's good. You hear me all right?
All good, all good. How are you? All right?
Yeah, not bad, thanks. Not too bad. I suppose with Spurs overriding feeling at the moment of just frustration, I suppose, and I'm probably different to some of the others tonight. I'm really concerned. I am concerned where we are at the moment, just from our league position. And when you look at the kind of what's happened in the calendar year, the last sort of 12 months, and obviously sitting in 12th now, points return, amount of injuries we've had. Yeah, there's a lot to kind of be concerned about, I think. Been a few highs, obviously, in the season, but been far and few between. Obviously, we've had City away, United away. Obviously, we're in the semi-final now, the Carabao Cup. But that's about it. Obviously, we've spoken about Kulusevski. I think he's had a good season. Gray's come through. I've been impressed with him. But I'm, genuinely frustrated and concerned where we are right now. Yeah.
What's your kind of prediction of how it's going to pan out for the second half of the season? How do you see the second half going?
Yeah, good question, James. I mean, I think it's going to be dependent on how quickly we get our main kind of key players back. And I think with the club, I think it's the league, which is really what they're concerned about. It's that they will start to focus on that. Obviously, we've got the League Cup. I think the next 3 league games for us are going to be key, James. Really, in terms of where Ange is, we've got Arsenal away, I think then Everton away, Leicester, and you would think they're looking at that and thinking we need results quickly. We need to start picking up points, and you would think we've got to take 6 as a minimum from those 3.
Yeah, I agree.
Ideally 7.
Do you think with that in mind, do you think the only one other concern, but also maybe hope, is Romero and Van der Ven? Will he rush them back again? Because he rushed them back only probably because it was Chelsea. Will he rush them back for the NLD? I hope not. Will it be nowhere near that game, or what do you think?
I think the temptation will be there, and obviously it will depend how the first leg probably goes with Liverpool. Obviously, got Tamworth in the cup. Because obviously fans are going to get very disgruntled if we take a bit of a hiding on Wednesday. It starts to the worry will start to creep in, won't it? And I think the temptation will be there. If you've got an 80% Van der Ven and Romero, then you're probably going to start with them, aren't you? Yeah, I think you'll be tempted to bring them in that game because we don't want to get a mauling at the Emirates, that's for sure.
Exactly.
So yeah.
Matt, when we saw a graphic published at the end of 2024, it said that if the league table just consisted of the results in the calendar year, Spurs would have been 9th. Now, when you look at that, I suppose I do understand your concern about league position. And like I said earlier on the show, that the club have always been, the focus has always been about league position, about finishing in those European spots. Now, as I've also mentioned on the show, we're closer to the relegation zone than we are top 4. A lot of people recently are saying about the amount of injuries that we've had, which is completely true. But overall, in the calendar year of 2024, how would you describe it? How would you look at it? And are you behind Ange Postecoglou? Because I just sense that you're wavering a little bit.
Yeah, I think it's fair to say. And I think my mind and where it is with Ange is I flip-flop. As inconsistent as our results, to be honest with you, with Ange is where I'm at. 1 minute you're in and you're behind him, next minute you're questioning what's going on. I mean, the injuries are worrying. He had similar kind of issues when he was at Celtic, right? So it's obviously high pressing, gung-ho football, and it requires a lot of energy. And if you haven't got depth, then it can cause you an issue when you get these injuries. So yeah, it's a concern. It's the inconsistencies for me, Chris, in the results. That is, we get a win, there's a draw, and a defeat, and this season with 10 defeats, obviously had a good start to the last campaign. And I think at the same stage we'd only lost 5 after 20 games. We're now with double the amount of games. Admittedly, we've had injuries, but again, when you look at the injuries and then actually look at some of the games this season where we dropped points, we've had pretty strong teams that have been set out. So you think of Leicester away. Really, that was a draw first game of the season. Newcastle, I think we're the better of them. We lost that game away. Strong team. We've obviously then Palace and Ipswich. First defeat. Yeah, first wins in the season for both of them. And then Brighton, which, as you know, Chris was there, 2-0 up and cruising. And it's that game management. And you're thinking, really, that Brighton game, they're a good outfit there, Brighton. Come out the start of the second half, keep it tight to the hour, and then perhaps try and push for a third. But we were straight at them, and we were open. You had Van der Ven, you had Romero, they were all there that game. So I do agree. The injuries are taking their toll. There's no question about it. But it's not as probably as people are looking at the moment.
No, I agree with you. I do. There have been some terrible performances with a strong side. But do you think the players are still playing for Ange? And is there any players that you feel that are that you'd like to get rid of ASAP?
I think the majority are behind him. I think some aren't. I think some are perhaps starting to waver a little bit. Their body language in certain games, I think at times has been questionable. I think Bournemouth away sticks out to me. That was not a good night. But I think the majority are.
Who are you talking about, Matt?
Well, in terms of body language, with some of them.
Yeah, with the players, yeah.
I think at times, majority of the midfielders at times for me have concerned me. I think there's something going on with Maddison and Ange that's maybe reading into that. There's something not quite right there for me. And that's a shame because I think when Maddison's playing well, you've seen this season, he picks up a couple of goals. He's arguably our most creative player. Things start to tick. I think even Brennan Johnson we've seen recently, in games. It's just you just wonder if they're believing in it, and it must be. Yeah, it's hard for them when you keep having the same outcome. We keep losing. It's not great, is it, for the confidence? But I think in the main they're behind him for now. But you wonder how long that can continue with the results as they're going. And they are, as Ange says, they are, in his mind, he thinks they're leaving everything out there and he's getting everything as he can out of them. But I just look at our squad and you wonder whether we should be getting more out of them. And it's not just Ange, it's the players, it's the club, you know, from the top. I think there's kind of issues throughout that need resolving. But yeah, I suppose coming back to your point, James, I think we're saying anyone that I'd want to see go at the moment, I wouldn't want anyone to go because we're down to the bare bones, obviously.
Yeah. Okay. But that aside, I mean, say we're strengthening with these players go. Who's the worst? Who's been like the 2 or 3 at the bottom for you? That, like, well, for me, it's Werner is in there. I think it's for quite. Which 2 or 3 would you like to see shipped when we have?
Yeah, I would agree. I think Werner's not working now. I was a bit similar to you, Chris, when we brought him in. It seemed shrewd business, but obviously I wasn't expecting him to be here this season necessarily. I thought it was more plugging a gap for the last part of last season. So I think Werner. I think we do need another striker. In an ideal world, I'd like to bring a striker in this window. Someone like Cunha, perhaps. I think Richarlison eventually will probably need to be moved on because of his injury record. He's just, you know, we're not getting value for money there, are we? So I think we need a striker. And as much as I like him, and I was pleased when we brought him in, I think Basuma's been quite inconsistent, and we haven't really seen enough of the Basuma from Brighton.
No,
I said that the other day, Matt. We want to see the Richarlison that played for Everton. We want to see the Basuma that played for Brighton.
Absolutely, yeah. And I just think perhaps sometimes it doesn't work at certain clubs, but you kind of look at this window, and the minimum for me would be, I think we need a left-sided centre back ideally. We know we've got issues with the doggy as well on that left wing back side as well. So a left back, centre back, and I think really what frustrates me more than anything, you've heard me say this many times before, Chris, is we've sold Højbjerg, we sold Skip, you know, DMs, all right, perhaps not the level we wanted. Højbjerg on his way down in his career. They screen that back line. We have not brought any player in really of that profile other than Archie Gray, who's finding his way. And by the way, he's been a great addition, but he's raw and now is being used as a utility player. But we really should have brought in my mind, a real established number 6. So for me, I would like to see someone of that, even that ilk, like how Paulinho was at Fulham, who went on to Bayern, or Douglas Luiz, obviously was at Villa. We need that sort of player, in my opinion, in there as well.
Yeah, protecting that back line, because that back line, like, so many holes there, isn't there? With the speed,
100%. Yeah, and you look at the left side as well. I was just saying that left side. Someone like, you look at Bournemouth. I think someone like Kirkes. You know, he's been a great addition down at Bournemouth. And you see his delivery, and you think we're now turning to Reguilon.
Matt, in terms of how Ange Postecoglou sets up and plays, and we've seen him say in press conferences many times that he's not going to change his way. You know, it is what it is. You know, the amount of times journalists have tried to get him to say, yeah, I'm going to change things up. And he says, look, I'm not changing. Are you behind what he's trying to do and how he sets up? But you're just saying that we need better players in transfer windows, because I feel like that's where I am. I feel like when it clicks, it really does click under Postecoglou, and we're really highly entertained. And then when it doesn't click, it goes the other way, where all of the neutrals are highly entertained and we're not, conceding many goals, etc. But in terms of, you know, this high intensity football, I suppose it does need so much more depth. And I feel like if the board are going to back Ange Postecoglou, they need to back this system the way that he wants to play. And if they are going to heavily back it, they need a lot more depth because of the amount of injuries that we get.
100%. I think that's the issue. Isn't it? We're one end of the spectrum to the other. So when it does work, like City away,
yes,
brilliant to watch. You know, and that's what in an ideal world, you're picking up the wins and you're playing great football like that. I think you said right at the top of the show, I think it was James, I think the concern is that inability, or that he doesn't want to adapt, and that does concern me. It's the Premier League. This is, you know, this top level, you know, and you look at some of the Liverpool players recently, they've been really impressed by the fact how Slot's approach games. You know, he respects the opposition, he makes tweaks for their opposition, and I just think if Ange perhaps takes some of that on board, and at times a bit of game management, a dollop of pragmatism, with the right players for the system, by the way, as you say, Chris, then potentially it could work. I think for me, it's crunch time now. The next kind of 4 to 6 weeks is going to be interesting to see what happens, because he's obviously signalling a message to the board. Are they going to back him? Let's say, are we going to get established, ready-made players? And he said that we need it. We all can see it. We said it in the summer. We've had a lot of prospects come in, but we need some ready-made players that are going to improve the starting 11, give us that depth and quality. Or is he just going to be given kind of half-baked loan deals that carry us to the end of the season? And if that happens, that to me probably signals where they are with him, because we all can see it. We need to bring in 3 or 4 this window, minimum 3 really. I think 4's wishful thinking.
You think we will bring in that many, or how many do you think we'll bring in? Not how many would you want? How many do you think we'll bring in?
Hopefully enough. I think they'll bring in 2 outfield players. Obviously, we've had the keeper, but you would like to think they're going to bring in 2 more. Ideally, you want 3. Sorry,
an attacker and a defender. You think? I think the midfield is pretty much, well, apart from the 6, obviously, but that's everywhere.
Yeah. You would hope they're looking at a left-sided centre back or wing back there, with a doggy out, obviously, as well now, and probably an attacking player. But I think the other thing for me is Son. We've touched on Son earlier on, haven't we? And for me, there needs to be a bit of succession planning with him. I don't think, I know Son's had a bit of an indifferent season, but let's not forget the service he's given to the club and the player he is. I think, obviously, there's protracted negotiations with his contract extension. That's probably not helping. But, commercially, I'm sure they will extend his contract. But I think at some point, as long as he's happy to stay, and eventually you start to phase him out and become more of an impact player, we need to start thinking about a quality kind of addition to the team that's going to obviously essentially replace him eventually, on that left side.
I think it's no coincidence that that Salah as well, similar age and a great service to Liverpool, that they're still stalling over there and they're stalling this side. I think when age comes in, doesn't it? And it just sort of, the player wants more than the club wants to offer, and maybe you get an imbalance there. But,
you're right. I'm sure they'll meet somewhere on there. But I wouldn't be dispensing of him at the moment, that's for sure. Because I think I'm sure he can bring value around the squad as well.
Matt, last question for you. Who's going to be in the Carabao Cup final? Which 2 teams?
And whoever you say, me and Chris are going to put a £5 bet on, so you've got to get it right.
I know what he's going to say.
So do I. Yeah.
Who do I think? Who do I want at 2 different things? I think it could be Liverpool and Newcastle. Actually.
So you think we're going out?
I think it's going to be a tall order, if I'm honest. I mean, I really hope I'm wrong. I hope we can stay in the tie Wednesday, obviously. Kind of hopeful we can get perhaps a 2-2, something like that, and at least go to Anfield, one-off game, who knows. And I think I'm right in saying they've got PSV and Bournemouth before they play us in the second league. So I think Wednesday's really important if we can stay in the tie. But we'll see. It's going to be interesting to see whether it's complacent when they turn up in terms of they scored 6 goals, we can roll them over no problem. Or actually, you see them from yesterday against Man United. Are they like you say, a slot got stuck into them? They're angry and they want to come out and really put us to the sword. We'll see. And we've obviously, as we know, we've got the injuries at the moment. I think Maddison will be missing, won't he? Wednesday, Sarr possibly. So it's going to be tough. If we get through, you never know. If we get through, it could be Tottenham Arsenal.
Matt, I said that was the last question, but I'm going to ask you this, because whenever you and I have spoken, we tend to agree wholeheartedly on the cup competitions mean everything to us. They are very important to both you and I. We agree 100% on that. League position, does league position matter if we progress in a cup competition, get to a final, lift a trophy? Because I asked a couple of people this earlier, and I feel like we've spoken about this on the podcast for the last couple of years, that some people have said, I'd take a mid-table finish if it meant we lift a trophy. That might happen. Would you be happy if it did?
Look, listen, if it's Europa League, absolutely, you're straight back into the Champions League, aren't you? And it's a trophy. But yeah, I mean, given where we are, and I think what Gareth was right in what he said earlier in terms of there's a huge gap now to make up, and you're relying on a lot of teams to drop points, Chris. Yeah, if we ended up 9th or 10th, but we win a League Cup or an FA Cup, we'd obviously take that from where we are now, given the injury, everything we've had gone on this season. I think we'd take that. And yeah, you move on for next season, don't you? But I think if we are still languishing where we are and we exit the League Cup and, you know, and we struggle in Europe, I think, like I said earlier, we need to start picking up results, I do think, in the league. But yeah, we need a trophy. And we'll see what happens Wednesday. I was disappointed we drew Liverpool, if I'm honest, the semi-final.
Especially with second leg at Anfield, couldn't.
Yeah, you would have liked that, exactly right. So would have preferred Newcastle or Arsenal.
The answer to what you're saying there, Matt, as well is if we did finish 9th or 10th and picked up a cup, because we have had them injury problems, it's not going to be as bad. But finishing mid-table, if we was going gung-ho, that a lot of fans would be going, come on, what's going on? You know what I mean? But yeah, having them injury problems, I would personally see that as still a good season.
You would take it now, wouldn't you? You would take it right now. Absolutely. I just, is it realistic? I'm not so sure, but you never know. You get a bit of luck in the FA Cup draw.
Matt, are you there Wednesday? Because as we said earlier, there are a lot of empty seats.
Yes, I'll be there. Yeah, of course. Yeah, I'll be there. I've seen there's an awful lot of seats, isn't there? Which is, disappointing for a semi-final of the League Cup. But it's where we are right now, isn't it? Which is a shame. But I'm sure there'll be some more sold. But big game Wednesday.
The concern would be with don't want Liverpool fans picking them up, them seats. That's happened before.
Hasn't it? And, even the weekend, wouldn't it? Newcastle, there's some Newcastle fans in the south, so they need to sort that out.
Matt, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much for coming back, and we look forward to having you on the podcast very soon.
Great to talk. Thanks, James. Good to see you. Cheers, Chris.
Cheers, mate. See you soon.
Cheers. Bye.
James, Matt was the last guest. I hope you've enjoyed the show.
I have, mate. There were some incredible guests there. I think every one of them, to be honest, there's amazing. So many differences in opinions and that as well. But yeah, I did really enjoy that, to be honest with you. And having so many different opinions, but really knew their stuff. I was impressed with every one of them, if I'm honest, mate. And thanks for having me on.
It's so funny because when we spoke on the phone yesterday, you said about, Craig and you and Craig done a 3-hour show, and I went, no, we won't be filming for 3 hours. It's just under 3 hours. Incredible. And it's flown by. And as you said, lots of different opinions, lots of great guests, dotted all around the world, I might add as well, which is great. James, before you do go, tell everyone where they can find you on social media, what you're up to at the moment, where you are next, how people can get in touch, where people can see you perform, etc., etc.
So next is I will be at the semi-final. I'll be at the Shelf Bar, Block 120, Level 1, East Stands. Playing Spurs classics and some few new things, and just getting the crowd ready for the semi-final as much as I can. Then after that, the next day I fly to America to do the tour, which I'll be going to Texas, to Austin, to Phoenix, to Denver, to Dallas. And then you can follow me on social media on the tour, on social media, and the places we go to on the Voice of Spurs here. And that's on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok, on everything. And yeah, come and see it. Come and see it at the grounds if you fancy it. It's always a good laugh before the game. And I am nervous. I'm definitely nervous, but I'll just before kickoff I get optimistic. But I've really enjoyed this, Chris, and I really enjoyed the difference in opinions. But everyone just knew their stuff, and I was very impressed with that. And it's good to get people off their chest. Really, do you know what I mean? That's especially where we are right now. A lot of us are frustrated, and it's good it's a good idea for the show. Great format, and I was impressed with it, man.
James, if you had to predict where Spurs will finish at the end of the season in the Premier League, and whether Spurs will lift a trophy, and can I also ask, do you think that Ange Postecoglou will still be the manager at the end of the season?
Predicting where we'll finish, I think we've spoken about this in the WhatsApp group. I actually agree. I think is it Melvin or Gareth? One of them said, well, it might have been Josh. We're going to go on a run, and I do believe we will. Like I do believe that we'll go on a run. I think get these key players in, there's so many players to come back, and there's so much we can do with the rotation. And when it clicks, that I think we'll go on a run. It won't be like an amazing finish. I think it's too far gone. I think we'll finish 7th, something like that, 6th or 7th, 6th at an absolute maximum. But I think we're going to get a cup. I really think we're going to get a cup. I always kind of think it a little bit, but it's quite strong right now. I think that we were owed it by the football gods, but I think we're going to get something here. I think it's going to click. I think a lot of people will take their foot off the pedal with Tottenham at the minute, and we're kind of almost going under the radar. Bang, going back when we get all our players back. I think, well, no disrespect to Tamworth, but there's a very good chance we're in the 4th round of the FA Cup there if Tamworth rest a few players. If Tamworth rest half their team, and then we've got like semi-finals to come in, and we're doing okay in Europa. We pick up a couple of results there, and we're in the top 8, which means we missed the knockouts, and that's good going in the cups.
James, I've got to ask, because there were a number of comments in the comments section today about a cup final song. If Spurs do reach a cup final, whether it's the Carabao Cup, FA Cup, or the Europa League, have you got a final song planned, and how does that work?
I haven't got anything planned because I don't want to do that until it's on, because I don't want to do it to myself.
But what I mean is, it will happen.
Yeah, I reckon. Yeah. But I'd probably like to involve the fans as much as I can, if I'm honest. See what I can do. Come up with some idea with the fans, and then I can maybe talk to these players. Maybe talk to Sandro. Can he get involved as well? And just make it really Tottenham. Make it something that the last season or 2 has taught me, is to make it about. And when I play, it's for them. It's not for me. Do you know what I mean? I'm there for those. For as much as I'm a Tottenham fan as well, I'm there to help Tottenham. So involving everybody as much as I can would be the idea that I've got. It's the idea that I have got, and involving people like Sandro and the people that I've met at the different events that I've done, ex-players and legends and stuff, and see what we can come up with, like, all together. But we've got to make it like so. It's Tottenham and it's cool. So, and to do that, I think you involve as many people as you can.
James, very lastly, where can people find you in the stadium on Wednesday before Liverpool game?
Wednesday, I'll be at Shelf Bar, which is East Stand, level 1, block 120. And I think it's kickoffs at 8, isn't it? Kickoffs at 8. Yep. I think they're moving us in to start a little bit earlier now. So start time is going to be a little bit earlier. I think it's about 6:30 that we'll be on stage and start playing.
Well, James, you've been a great guest. Thank you so much. And for everyone watching and listening, make sure you do visit all of James's social media pages at The Voice of Spurs. And if you haven't seen James perform at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, where have you been? Get over there, watch him. He's absolutely fantastic. There are lots of clips on my YouTube channel, on James's YouTube channel, of him singing at the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium. It is absolutely brilliant stuff. I can't thank everyone enough for being involved in today's show. If you would like to get involved in the future show, please do send me an email. It is tottenhamfanchris@gmail.com. It is as simple as that, and you can come on and express your feelings and thoughts on Ange Postecoglou, the season so far, and of course the future, and of course the January transfer window, which we hope is going to be a very, very busy one for Tottenham Hotspur. Of course, we'll be back on Wednesday with the Spurs Chat podcast straight after the Liverpool game. Thanks for watching, everyone. Thanks for listening, and until the next time, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.